see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Alfred.
Boy, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Alfred.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, Bob. I love him when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to be here with all of you guys tonight. Thank you so much for waiting. I appreciate that. Sometimes I will go over and check out a live and, if it's a good live and, there's a lot of people that I see in both chats, I want to share that link and have you guys come over, and watch. So that way, we can all understand some of the topics. Tonight is going to be a little different because I had already laid out some topics, but you guys know it's usually free to talk about different subjects in here, especially if it's something that matters to you guys. And I think that even though drama doesn't matter as much. I think that sometimes when there's things that need to be addressed, they just need to be addressed, sort of like when I did the review of American Justice, reviewing me, right? It's just something that needs to be addressed, and there is a time and place for it, I do believe. So, I did head over to Smiley's tonight, so thanks for joining me over there, and thanks for coming over and joining here. Gail, thank you so much for the blue and green hearts. We are Sebastian and Devlin's army. Thank you, Gail. And there's just so many victims. That's what Smiley's point was, is there's a lot of people out there that, life is just hard for us all in general. All of us go through bad times. All of us go through good times. Um, Sometimes things will be just fine and then we'll have something horrible happen, or even the weather. We can't stop the weather, can we? And it does put a wrench in things when it's just horrible, like it has been, all these storms. The ice is really dangerous too because it weighs down the trees and it can cause a lot of issues. Hey Beth, good to see you. Thank you for the green hearts. So good to see you. Thank you, Chuchi. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Also, we have little Miss Sharon. Hey, little Miss Sharon, good to see ya. And Kelly, we have Kelly here. And Mama is here. So good to see you, Mama. And yes, Chuchi, thank you so much. So we're doing the trivia night on January 31st. So if you guys want to do the membership, we're going to do whoever wins the trivia will have a chance to win, a prize. And it will be from um my trip. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, right? It's just gonna be something special from the trip. And, also, I wanted to tell you guys about the poster board. So I wanna do a green poster board with Sebastian's picture, his missing flyer on it. And then I wanted to do, different, messages that you guys come up with, whatever you want to write on there. And of course, we want the messages to be uplifting. So I don't want like that. We can maybe do a separate one for messages that you guys want me to, be a part of the, air quote protest part of it. But I want to do something special, nice as well, right? Messages for Sebastian, um, you know, because he deserves that positivity also. Um, it's been 2 years, it's been too long, and he deserves to be honored and, felt like he's loved. If he's listening, I want him to know that we care, in case he sees it. But we'll be doing some fun stuff like that also, next month if you wanna do, like I said, through the Cash App or Venmo. We'll do something special too, when I get back, like a drawing or something like that. So it's not just members that can you know, get the drawing, because I was thinking about that too. So, um, aw, thank you, Bo. Thank you. And Smiley had a mic drop moment, which was great because I was like, "Uh-oh, did I press the button?" And then and then I said, "Oh, no, okay, wait a minute. It looks like the live ended." And so I've almost hit the end live button so many times. So I was like, maybe she accidentally hit the live button. Nope, she meant to it was a mic drop moment. So, um so Jackie thinks that based on the thumbnail that the green hoodie could be either Francis Rosenbaum or the Texana. She says, in my opinion, so have fun. Yeah, I know it's going to be tough because those photos I just pulled the ones that At Night had posted and they're still blurry. I can't do an accurate comparison. I think that if the yellow jacket guy like even lifted his mask down for like 5 seconds, I would be able to get at least like his face structure, but with the mask it's very difficult, right? Um it's just too difficult, but he was very clear on the camera and so was the young man that was bringing food. He was a food runner, he was running back and forth with the food. I don't think he has anything to do with it. You could tell he's working, I mean, unless he's that good, right? But his body language was saying that he was an employee, in my opinion, so Okay, Gail was wondering the same too. No, I was like, Smiley's a gangsta because I didn't want to go live if she actually if she accidentally hit that button. So, Mama thought the same. Hey, Animal, good to see you. Oh, you did a funny video. Do you have a YouTube channel, Animal? I've never gone over there and looked. Um, I don't know who all has channels, you guys gotta let me know that too sometimes. Yeah, here's the Bo's comment, she let us know that she did a mic drop. That's too funny, I love it. Chuchi, she's a gangster. Oh my goodness. No, I appreciate honesty and, like, I know that it's very brave to be honest on these streets. It really is. Hey, Kiki, so good to see you. But it's honest and brave and sometimes on these streets you can really get tomatoes for like a whole week and people try to make your life miserable because you had an opinion and when you come to a conclusion love you too, Kiki. When you come to a conclusion where you're like, gosh, I'm at a fork in the road and I need to say something. When you're in that position and you take the right road, which in my opinion is being truthful and honest, you're not going to lose running down that road. What you will do if you don't speak up and you go against your gut, you're going to regret it. You're going to wish you would have said more. And that's just the way I've experienced things. I've been in a position where I should have said something, and it is see something, say something, do something, right? Even if it's maybe not popular or what people think that you would do. Because some people think, well, I know what somebody else would do, but a lot of times we don't know what other people will do, or see or feel when they see the same exact, you know, situation. Or the same goes for artwork. When you're looking at a piece of art, it's where everybody's perspective comes into play, and they can say, well, I see this, or I think this about it, or I think it means this, right? But some interpretations of some of the same thing is going to be different. And then we've also talked about situational situations. The situation when you're in the situation with someone and you have the same experience, in the fact that you're both there at that time, but what your perspective is and how you feel about it and even how it affects you afterwards can be different than the person that's standing right next to you. So it's important to always kind of listen in, and of course if it's I mean, if it's something that's upsetting, don't listen to it and just, but also remember that we're going to agree a lot on things, but a lot of things we're just not going to. So, I mean, that's where coming from on that. Animal says Chris has a lot of faces. Sometimes I wonder conspiracy like Daniel if a cult really experimenting on psychopaths who are really innocent sometimes, but also back to reality. Well, I'll tell you, one thing I know is that Sebastian wasn't taken by aliens, that's for sure. Thanks, Chuchi. Aw, I love the purple hearts. He does, and he changes his appearance a lot, right? Every time Chris is seen in the public eye, he's changed his appearance afterwards. Um, it's just like in the America's Most Wanted video, he rocked out the gray, and I don't even know, it looked like he dyed his whole head gray. I don't think he did. I'm just kidding, but yeah, he was like super gray in that one. Then they had the interview for the first year and he was back to Just for Men Chris. And that's why I call him Just for Men Chris, because he absolutely, especially in the Fox News interview where they were using the pictures of Sebastian when he was really, really young. Um, he absolutely did some Just for Men action in there, in my opinion, So, so meticulous goatee shaping over there. Animal, that's funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Chris is definitely a character, and again, I have to say that I think that the circus was caused by Chris and Katie. They just do the most outrageous stuff, and then there's the most outrageous people that are tied to them, right? And then we have Sheriff Craddock, who doesn't seem to give a rat's patootie about anything. Even though I know that he had to have, um, you know, brought in a lot of problems, right? Well, the first thing that he brought in was problems. Chris did, that is. And he, of all people, even with Smiley, they were very rude to her. Like, that was the first thing that I noticed, and I didn't even know who Smiley was at that time, right? I was a brand new creator myself, so I had no idea who all everybody was that was following or, covering Sebastian. I knew Pascal was because I was always already a viewer of his. But, I saw this really nice lady and I'm thinking, okay, well, she seems like she's just trying to help. And then he's being so rude to her. And then I'm like automatically mad at him, because of that. And I didn't know either one of them. So, I know. I feel bad too, Kiki, because I know that there has to be a divide, but I think it's a long time coming. Because of a lot of things that has happened, and I think that a lot of times when people even try to ignore things because they're like, man, because even spoke my piece too about it because I was like, I don't really watch Britney, so I don't have a frame of reference. But when I went over and watched last night, I just noticed that, like, you know there wasn't like, it wasn't genuine in my opinion. It was more like, okay, can I cry to see if people will, like, send me money? And that way, I don't think it's nice to take advantage of people's emotions that way. If you guys give me a super chat or something, I just hope it's because you're in the position to do it. One, don't think that it's going to make me like you guys more. And then another thing, I always need to mention that if you cannot, like when we're doing something like this, if you cannot be a part of a membership or something like that, if you view my videos, that helps me gain money from working, with the YouTube program and AdSense. And so it's always like just wonderful when I have viewership. So if you guys, want to watch my video, that is what gets me paid as well, and helps me out tremendously because I couldn't do it without making money. None of us can do this without making some sort of money at it. Is it something that we should ever think that we're going to get rich off of? Hell to the no, no, no. Because you have to pay to have these systems in place. Like StreamYard. I pay $17.99 a week. If somebody's got a better deal out there, let me know. Um, $17.99 a week to keep this. Right? Then I pay for copyrighted music. Then I pay for, my editor and stuff, which I think that one, see, the editor, one of the ones is once a year. Well, actually, I think there's two that I do once a year, so I don't have to pay it per month. But either way, I try to do good quality for you guys to watch. Um, and everybody works hard at it, but when you have somebody that is fallen asleep showing photographs from the Idaho 4 when they were asked to be not shown by the family, which they cannot control that. It's just a moral thing for oneself at that point to say, should I do it or shouldn't I? How would I feel if it was my family, right? But then on top of that, you fall asleep while you're showing it, and that is very disrespectful. So you're not even trying to present it in a manner that is respectful. And by the way, you can, blur out certain images and things like that. There's tools to do it. Just as I said, I pay for the editor or whatever in order to do that. So when people are doing stuff like that, Kiki, we have to speak against it. Also, I tried to ask Brittany to email me when I saw that she was going through so much crap and that I went through, and I was like, maybe if I could tell her some tips. But I'm not the only one that's done that, and I never did hear back from her, right? So it's just people want to help, but when they're sitting in the same position and you're not doing anything to be proactive, there's only so many times that people can hear that you're the victim, right? Whether you do something about it or not is a big part of it, right? If you're making steps and trying to do something to help yourself, then people are more apt to keep helping you. But if you just leave it being the way it is and you're complaining, I mean, when your husband or significant other is brandishing a weapon on your platform, and it seems to me that he's trying to steal your spotlight, and you could be, doing so much better, but yeah, he's over there, talking in the background. I would never let that happen, ever. No, that's not okay, right? You're impeding on her paycheck and on her professional way of, presenting information. I've heard him playing the TV super loud in the background. I've heard him playing some sort of other thing in the background while she's talking and trying to do her show. Like, I would seriously mute the mic, and I would not have it would not be good. Like, I'd be like, "You need to be quiet." But when you have to do that, you shouldn't have to do that. You should not have to do it at all. He should be respectful and grown enough to be quiet when she's trying to work, you know? Brenda, I know you're not trying to be disrespectful, hon. I'm just gonna tell it like it is, though, and I've already done this once, but I just don't think we can't just allow people to do stuff, right? Like Jen was saying on the live that we did the other night, she said it perfectly. You love someone to life, you don't love them to death, right? You don't allow for them to continue to keep screwing themselves up. You can't do that's not you don't care about that person then. If your friends aren't having conversations with you, like I even told my managers, if I ever act like that, please do not let me act like that. Like, have a talk with me. If there's something that I'm doing like that, hey Holly, don't let me do it. And, don't let me wreck myself, right? If I'm really wrong, like you have to have that ability to accept constructive criticism. And it's constructive criticism that makes us better. Right? If everybody just tells you, "Yeah, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great," and then you're not, that's counterproductive. That is not a good way to continue on. And those are not friends that are allowing for you and that's not very, it's not right for a boyfriend to do that. Do you know how much shit that Brittany J got for him brandishing that weapon? A lot. A lot. Do you know how much shit Brittany got because he was flirting back and forth with Petty as AF? Petty AF, right? It's not cute or funny, and there's people that look up to her, and they're watching her, and they're trying to emulate her. Do you think that that's proper? Anyone in the chat? I mean, if you're gonna disagree, be respectful, but I really wanna know what people have to say. And boy, are all the trolls gonna be pissed off that they were a troll. And they can't join the conversation. I saw a couple of them in there salivating tonight. But I really want to know because that's not proper. It is not proper. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm really behind in chat. Hey, Detroit. So I'm just gonna scroll down. I'm sorry about everybody else's comments. Hey, C. Taylor. Um, Distractions are just that, distractions. Hey, C. Taylor. Yeah, consistent background noise is a distractor, and it's disrespectful to the victims. Thank you, C. Taylor. It is. It's so disrespectful, and that's why you guys. I don't like telling you guys. Well, can you stay on topic? And I'm sure Chuchi doesn't like to say stay on topic, or Little Miss Sharon, or any of our mods in here that are reminding us of things like make sure you say allegedly, hit the thumbs up. You guys are so good about all of that, and I so appreciate that. But we don't like having to reiterate that all the time. But my big thing with staying on topic is that I don't want the family members to come in here and we're talking about like sensitive subjects and sensitive matters, in the case, and then have people talking about like what kind of, dinners for tonight. Like, it's okay to say that kind of stuff. And, maybe we need to do more fun lives where we just get together and have fun, like a trivia, like what we're gonna do, or a chit chat. I mean, it usually turns to true crime, but it's just that if we're having a moment where we're showing something um, that is sensitive, like what we're gonna do tonight, I mean, we have to be respectful of the people in the bushes. If they're in there looking at us and then they see us like, and I'm the worst one to be silly. But I mean, it's like if they see us being, buttholes or something, they're gonna be like, what is this? A bunch of jerks talking about my kid's case? What, this is a bunch of people that don't really care, and I know that's not true. I'm just saying that's why I would say stay on topic. You know? Oh, Kiki, that's a very good point. Kiki says, but staying on topic, I agree. Get the creator thrown off too. Well, and that's the thing too. Sometimes when I lose my train of thought, it's because I looked at the chat, and sometimes that's why I won't even look over there for a minute, and then I get behind. But you're right, it does. It throws things off, and it's like you got momentum, people talking about it, everybody's conversating, then you have somebody that throws it off, and it does, but I think it's good to have that, no, yeah, I don't think anybody I don't say I haven't said anything bad about Brittany. I just I hope that she listens to people who care about her, because if she was to say change how she's handling herself, I think people would react to that in a positive way, right? I mean, I don't think anything's too far gone to make a change, but people need, they need to do that and recognize it for themselves. Um, Yeah, Fave Andy, and I don't even have a great form of reference. It's just been what I've been looking into lately. And more so, I watched her interviews with Seth, and then I didn't watch after that really. And then again, I watched because she had elevated goof on there acting up. And then just recently, oh, I'm sorry. No, I did watch what Craig was doing because I was watching Terry Lynn. And that's the only reason I know what he was doing with Petty. So, because I didn't watch it on her channel or anything, I watched it on Terry Lynn's. So, with that being said, I just hope that she will, take a look at what she's doing, and know that when it's coming from people who care, maybe take a step back and listen and implement some of that just to, um, you know, help her out. Well, and I do too. IML. I don't agree with that at all, not one bit. And I'll tell you, even though I didn't watch Britney, I would always report stuff that was, mean, right, and hateful, because I don't agree with that at all. I mean, it's too much, and too many people are doing it, right? I mean, it really is, and that's not. It doesn't matter who it is, it's not right, And like I said, I saw the haters salivating tonight, like, "Oh, what you gonna say?" But it is improper. It's, she's acting improperly, and, when people call it out, um, I think some of it is constructive criticism in a sense. Um, and again, I don't have a frame of reference as far as really like how she was before, or if there's a difference now or anything like that, you know? So, because like I said, when I was watching her interview with Seth and Tony and stuff, I was mostly listening to them. Um, Hello, Justice for New, good to see ya. But yeah, it's out of hand. Nobody thinks that's okay, nobody, and when we see that, we should say something about it too. It's never okay for any of it. And it has just gotten so out of hand. Hello, Bring and Beezy, good to see, or Bling and Beezy, good to see ya. Yeah, things are also, you know, I know that you guys are having a private convo, but this is good. See, sewing, right? Having hobbies. Yeah, you have to do things that are going to bring you joy to equalize some of the mess. And, ignoring a lot of it is the way to go because you do want to ignore a lot of it. When people were being mean and reviewing me about that picture, um, I didn't watch it. I watched the one because I had people like flying in here and telling me, Lady Freedom, they're talking about you. And then I was being silly and called them, a different name than their name. And I'm not even going to bring it back up because it doesn't matter anymore. But here's the thing, if you give it too much energy, it'll grow. If you don't give it the energy, it'll just putter out, right? I mean, it's not going to have anything to grow off of. Hello, Shadow. Good to see you. And that's the way it should be. Hey, Poppy Love. Aw, Kiki, I know you're always busy though. So you're busy and Kiki's busy working on her videos and doing lives and everything like that. And that other video was so good, Kiki. I was so surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. The mattress pad. Kiki's got the mattress pad in hers as well. Her video that she put out just recently. Yeah, I know. Lisa, that's true. It takes 100 good actions or words to counteract one bad action or word, in my opinion. And that's the thing. It's hard to come back from something, and it's why it's important to try to be at least positive or try to do the right thing so you don't have to worry about counteracting it, try to put stuff out that you're proud of. And a lot of the times it's really really hard if you're in a bad mood or you come up here like the other night I was a little fired up. And that's going to happen, but I try not to come up if I'm really amped up, right? Because I mean, nothing good will come of it if I do that. So thank you, Lisa, for modding from the bushes. Thank you. So, Bisme says, or BB is me, sorry, BB is me says the stuff with Petty isn't true. The screenshots have already been debunked. They're fake. Well, what I saw that Craig was doing, the flirting back and forth, that was real. That part was real. So that part wasn't nice. If your girlfriend, or I don't know if they're wife or husband or how they are, if it doesn't matter. I have a boyfriend, I'm not getting married. I was married already and I'm not getting married again. So that's, again, I'm not throwing shade. What I'm trying to say is if I was upset and my significant other was poking me about it, right? And laughing and joking about it, I would expect some support, right? And not making the situation worse. And Craig was laughing about it. He thought it was cute. He thought it was funny, and BJ was upset. And that wasn't right. And I'm sorry, I forget she doesn't like to be called that, but Brittany J was upset. I don't like seeing another woman being poked like that, and I will never be okay with that. I think that's disgusting and it triggers me because it makes me want to say something to him in the chat like, why don't you stick up for your lady there? She deserves your support instead of you fueling the fire. He's a jackass, in my opinion. And I think she could do better. That's my opinion. After seeing that and then him brandishing the weapon. So was that made up too? Because if that was made up too, then I don't know what's going on. I'm not authenticating it, but it was played around a lot. And a lot of times when there's mishaps, we'll just call them mishaps, right? I don't know, what else to say about it. A hiccup. Everybody's watching and everybody's downloading. As soon as that little hiccup happens, and we're streaming in our houses, so that's going to happen for some, a hot mic moment or whatever. It's going to happen. But it's like, you know, I wanted to see him supporting her and saying, "You're beautiful. I would never, ever, ever do something like that. Please don't, you know, talk to her like that." Like, why doesn't he say it's a hoax? Why doesn't he say, no, he thought it was funny because he needed an ego boost, apparently. See, Taylor says, "Krama is an illusion. True crime is true crime, not drama. Drama is drama, not true crime." Exactly, you see, Taylor. And there's a lot of those Krama channels out there, right? We've been talking about that a lot lately. Um, Most recently, I have a Krama channel in the making. It's a new Krama channel. She does not, whatever, like me for whatever reason. And that's fine. But don't don't go after the creator. See, when it turns to Krama, see, Taylor, is when a creator goes after another creator, but they mask it behind a true crime case, like Devlin Tate's case, right? She did not talk about Devlin Tate at all. She talked about me. That's Krama, right? That's not true crime. Let's examine Devlin Tate. That is Krama. And, that's where it starts, because then I could take time out, or I can go make a separate channel, which I'll never do, by the way, unless it's another true crime something, or maybe cooking or something. I mean, other than the crap. But go over there, do that, and then start shit back and forth with her. Oh, well, did you see what she said? Look at her, look at her, and just break her down, physically, everything she says, make fun of her all day. I'll roll some blunts. I'll get all fucked up over here and talk shit. That's Krama, right? And that's fine if people want to do that. And it is more, it does make you more money than being honest up here and doing the research, right? Because me and Chuchi were researching last night. We had no idea that any of this was going on, right? I started listening to Justin in the beginning because he was talking about Sebastian. So I was like, oh, yeah. But then Chuchi and I were getting into some research about Sebastian. I'm going to share it with you guys tonight, but about his family, right? We're looking at the family and who's closest to him, since it appears the police haven't, you know? Yeah, Kiki, and I know you're always doing that, I know you're always working on something, and, we do take a break. We really do. We take a break. Um, so, and, it's important to take a break every now and then. Again, it helps with the bigger picture. So, hey, Chronicles of the Shady, good to see ya. Oh, Bisme, or sorry, BB. I'm just gonna put that together. I'm sorry. BB is me says the weapon was real, but the petty stuff was not. Well, whether he is brandishing the weapon, which can get her, demonetized, or what have you. Why is he there? Why can't he go find something to do? Because he's not helping, BB. He's not helping. He's making things worse, and he's disrespecting her. And I can't have it. I'm not going to sit up here when people are talking about it and not say it. I saw disrespect from him to her, and she did not deserve that. Not one bit. And he did think the petty stuff was funny. Whether he sent her the message or not, whether he was messaging her or not, it's just as bad. He should have said, I'm sorry that this is happening. I can see it's upsetting you, Brittany. And, please try not to give it too much weight, hon. Something like that would have been support. But laughing and joking and when she's in turmoil, it's triggering. AF. Well, Chronicles of the Shady, I saw it on the live stream. I saw their two faces. So you're saying that uh what you're saying is that I didn't see with my own 2 eyes. What I saw was him laughing at Brittany, and I'm not going after Brittany, I'm going after her husband. If anybody wants to know why I won't watch her at all, is because when I went back and tried to watch her, he was doing rude stuff in the background, right? And if people are talking about Brittany and you go over to watch her, it's right in front of us, right? Hey, NorCal SoGal, it's right in front of us. Yeah, I know she does it. I know it, IML, and that's the thing. People can swoop in here that are never in here and start saying all of this crap. I know abuse when I see it. And I'm not going to be okay with watching it. And nobody should. How am I obsessed with Brittany when I don't watch her, Shady? Please. And if you're going to be rude, you can come in out, or you can go out the same way you came in. You know, why don't you swoop over there and tell Brittany that she doesn't deserve the shit that she's putting up with? Because you're not going to sit here and tell me that he wasn't laughing about that whole situation with Petty. Bull crap. He was. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I felt the just disappointment in Brittany's voice when she's talking. It's sad. And I'm never going to be okay with watching that. Ever. Because I'm watching another female get treated like dog shit, and I will never, ever be okay with it. And when people want to ask about Brittany and talk about it, and people are all talking about it, yes, I'm going to talk about it too. I don't have a problem with Brittany. The problem is Craig. He doesn't let her do her show. He sits there and plays loud whatever he's watching, the TV, the music, I mean, stuff that's not even to do with what she's talking about. And it's not like she's just shooting the shit. She's talking about true crime cases. She's talking about people's families and their lives. And that's very disrespectful to the victims and their family. I never talk about Brittany. He is so disrespectful, right, Bo? Like, it's not even funny how disrespectful he is. Just because everybody else is afraid to say it. And I talked earlier to one of my mods about that. I said, you know what? Nobody wants to talk about Craig. They'll all talk about Brittany. And then she sends me over Smiley's live. And I said, oh shit, I'm working on a video. Hopefully I get to make it over there in time. And I went right in there to listen because that's who deserves to hear it as well. You know, because for the longest time I wondered if she's fallen asleep because she has to make all the money because he just sits there on his duff. You know? But it's none of my business and I really don't care. But when we want to talk about Lady Freedom, are you gonna support? No, I'm not gonna. Nope, never will. It's not okay for me. And I will never think it's okay. Just like I expect respect out of, everybody to each other. I expect to see people being respectful to each other, especially a man that is sitting there trying to hijack her show like that. You know? So it's ridiculous. And Kiki, we can't just let it happen, right? We can't just be like, oh, it's all right. You know? Yeah, he talks about all kinds of nasty and that's the thing. He could get her demonetized. Maybe he is getting her halfway monetized and stuff. I don't know that. But I'm just saying, like, if it was me and somebody was doing that to me, I'd be pissed off and I would say something, you know? Well, whether she's turned around and said something, I don't know, BB. Like I said, I don't have the best frame of reference. But I'm going to tell you right now, the little bit that I've ever watched has been disrespect from him. I absolutely see abuse. Absolutely. You know? You got ice, baby. NorCal, SoCal. You've been in the dark. Do you guys now have your power backs finally? My gosh. I'll tell you, it's been cold here. 47 is cold here. But what you guys have is, completely different. There's uh there's truth in what she is saying here, and I like Brittany, but I last night he was so loud and disruptive. Yeah, Sally, I don't know why he does that to her. I can't listen to it because it's abusive. He's messing with her money, he's messing with her professionalism. That's not okay for me. That means he's holding her down. Does anybody understand? Because I don't think that it's okay. And people would rather make fun of her than say anything about it. And that's what's weird to me too. I'm not the first one to say it. Thanks, Holly. Well, that's good. I'm not sure where he came from. I mean, I thought he was not in the picture because I've never heard him up there like when Seth and them were up there. It seems like I don't know. When I was going through that shit with Terry Lynn and all them freaks, it was like last year, January, February, I think more like February. And that's when I was watching Terry Lynn and I was seeing the stuff that happened with Petty. So I was watching it there. I wasn't watching I went and watched her live to make sure it was what I was seeing. Yeah. Sorry, I've been talking a lot today. Um, but other than that, no. Um, I haven't watched her, right? But then when I go over and try to watch her, it's the same thing. I mean, word gets around too. It's not you guys can scoop it under the rug, but the rug's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're not going to be able to hide it for long. I know, I get it, IML. I just, when somebody's never in here and then they just come in here and start, telling me like, she's, they're obsessed. I'm not obsessed with her at all. I don't ever talk about her. I just think that it needs to be said because there's going to be a lot of questions around it. And I'm not going to be quiet just because I have an opinion. I'm not, you know? Yeah, she's been through so much already, Bo. And then for him to be like that is awful, you know? Hey, Rob Beanie, good to see ya. No, I'd be yelling, Kiki, I'd be like, you need to be quiet while I'm trying to do this, you know? And I get it, we're in our houses, it's tough, but it's about respect. It's about being respectful and a grown up. She's got kids, even to deal with. If the kids are not in the background doing that, then what the heck? And another thing is that if people have kids and they're in the background, I don't fault moms for that at all. Just putting that out there. I'm not gonna fault a mom for that. They're doing what they need to be doing with their kids. Um, you know, Thanks, BB. I just don't think it's right, and I know I'm sure she tells them to shut up from time to time, but I mean, it's not working and it's bringing her more grief. And he's not helping. I wish he would help her. Um, well, thanks, BB. I mean, I just don't know what to think when people come in and are like, look, I don't have a problem with Brittany. I am not going to cover the situation, but I do want to bring it up because it's obviously spilling out the other side of the rug where everybody's tried to push it. Um, oh, I think Valley Gale, maybe it's because of um I'm thinking it's probably because of the other creator that was being mentioned, maybe. It's a good one, Lisa B. And I always put those up, guys, so you don't have to wait through the commentary too. So it is awkward, Jana. It's too awkward. It is too awkward. And it just I mean, if people are trying to help you out, don't ignore them, listen to them when they talk. When people are reaching out because they care about you, focus on those people. Don't focus on the idiots that are, bringing you hell. You can't do that. If you choose to focus on the people that don't mean anything to you, then you're pretty much crapping on the people that are trying to be good to you, and you're giving all your energy to these idiots. How is that fair or right? It's not. So, with that being said, I'm going to move on. So, in Sebastian Rogers' case, we were guilted into not talking about this subject, but I won't be guilted because I think that we need to talk about it. And I think it's important, and I think it's something that's been overlooked, and I think that we need to discuss it. Now, I'm not alleging that law enforcement has not checked out these people, because they may have. As a matter of fact, it doesn't take very long to find information on these people, and it's very, very concerning, to say the least. Um, Thank you, Chuchi. Thank you, Chuchi. Chuchi says this world has enough hate. If you see someone's crown is crooked, tilt it up so they can shine. Again, if you know a friend who is struggling, help them, in my opinion. Exactly, Chuchi. It's like we really need to, at women on this platform in particular. Yes, I'm talking to each and every one of you ladies out there. Stop putting your foot on the next girl. Instead, why don't you give her a hand up? But we don't have that mentality here. It is the most cutthroat shit I've ever seen, and I've worked in real estate. It is the most cutthroat environment on these streets. And for somebody to sit there and step on the other person instead of giving them a hand up, it's disgusting, it's wrong, and it should never happen. Now, if somebody's doing dirt and somebody wants to point it out, that's different, right? And there's constructive ways of doing that. But absolutely, if somebody is struggling, help them out, right? Be nice to them, or maybe stick up for them and say, hey, this is not right. I mean, because otherwise you're part of the problem and not the solution. So, right. Thank you, Kylie Ray. Robini says, I don't watch Brit anymore, so I don't really know what's been going on. I don't like the drama, though. Yeah, in my opinion. I know, Robini, it's terrible. And the thing is that there's a fine line between drama and just getting things out in the air, and sometimes things need to be said. And especially if people are trying really hard because they really like that person and they don't want to, call them out. And especially in this situation where there's so many people on her that you don't want to say anything about it. That's why I never spoke up before, because I'm like, what's the point? I don't want to kick her while she's down, but it's getting to the point where, when I listened in last night for the first time, it was like, if you cry, you get super chats. If you, don't cry, then you're not going to get as much super chats, but it's almost like a conditioned response in that chat. She starts crying, super chats start coming through. And then her demeanor changes right away. Oh my gosh, thank you. Woohoo. Like as if you're like crying because you're like in the worst mood, you're super hurt, and then the next minute, you just struck the lottery, so you're like, "Oh yeah." Like that is weird, right? I mean, if you're either so distraught and upset that no amount of money is gonna make you feel better because one of your friends, has called you out. It's very inauthentic. Okay, all right. I heard that with my own ears last night, right? And then I also was listening to it with someone else. We're like, and then I realized it's a conditioned response. It's like the rat at the pellet bar, right? Tears come, crying comes, emotion comes. People care about Brittany. They start throwing money at her, then she's okay, you know? And then for people on the outside looking in that don't typically watch her are going to catch that on the first take. So everybody's like, poor Brittany, poor Brittany, poor Brittany. So then people go over and watch her and they're like, oh, well, ooh, and then some of us just duck into the bushes back again and act like we were never there and we don't say nothing. Or other people start a clip channel, right? And that's just how it goes. But most people aren't going to be okay with that. And then you hear him disrespecting the victims in the back of her stream and disrespecting her. Go find something to do while she's working. Not everyone needs to like everyone. Well, not everybody will, IML. That is very true. Not everybody's cup of tea, I'm confused with all this, but don't let this be a distraction from Sebastian. Yeah, I know. Well, and that's why I think it's good to talk about it, IML, because if I was to just act like it's not happening, I think that would make things worse. Because sooner or later it's gonna, I mean, it's spilling out. Like I said, it's just spilling out, you know. Yeah, Valley Gal. I'm not, you know, I'm just glad that somebody else kind of sees it. Cece says it's like Lord of the Flies. It is. It's like who has the conch? Who has the conch? Oh my gosh, Cece, it is. And we really need to stand up for each other as women. Hey, Ebony, good to see you. And we do. And if we don't, um, good night, NorCal SoGal. Stay warm and safe there. Oh my goodness. Um, if we don't lift each other up, then that's showing that we're either jealous of each other, right? Because I think that's what's going on in this particular with this small creator. I think she's just really jealous, and instead of um wondering what happened to Devlin, she'd rather go after me, type of a thing. So MST has no idea what we're talking about, she says. uh all these months I was silent and never spoke bad of Brit. I might have said some things she could have done better in this chat. I have had my tongue held, but yesterday she bashed me. Oh, Sam. Yeah, I heard that. I didn't know she was exactly talking about. I'm sorry that was you. You've always been cool in this chat, and golly, when we've had people on the panel, you've had some good questions, girl. I don't know what I would what I would have done that day. I'm sorry that happened. And that's the thing. I mean, I don't want you guys to ever get bashed for anything, really. I mean, I get that there's going to be differences with subscribers. I get it. As a creator, I never thought I never really anticipated that, I should say. I never really did. I did not anticipate that. But here we are. Yeah, I don't know, Sally. Like I said, it was weird. It was like, I'm gonna get that super chat, and then she did, and her demeanor was like a brand new person, and I'm like, okay, you know. I was saying I was arguing with Sinner and arguing with people. I was in those arguments defending her. That had me absolutely upset. Oh, damn. I'm sorry, Sam. Oh, people on her panel yell at the chatters. Okay. Yeah, and see, I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I was very open to having people up on the panel and stuff like that, but then I also realized that can cause issues. in terms of people thinking, that it's their show or their, I mean, just there's all kinds of stuff, but it's very weird. But then again, there's not really a lot of structure on that show, so I don't know. But I've kind of seen what happened with Nana Dragonfly, and I just didn't think that was cool either. Brittany, her show is the reason why any of us know who that lady is. I mean, so you use somebody, again, you step on another woman to get to, it's a climber move, in my opinion. You stepped on her and used her for success, and now you're bashing her. Make that make sense. I don't think she wants him there. No, Kiki, to be honest. No, I don't. No, I don't. I think it's very stressful for her. If I was just to take a guess, just by the little bit that I've seen, you know? Yeah, stayed there for a minute, just blah, blah, blah. Well, and there's so much going on. Like, I don't know. It's so disrespectful. Good to see you, Tully. Black Knight says, so is it okay for Justin to show highly, uh, oh, I think you mean Kylie Rodney's, uh, I don't know what that is, Black Knights. You'd have to explain that to me more. I did not follow Justin when Kylie Rodney's case was around at all. I do know that people were showing the car that she ended up in the back seat. That's what I know about her case, but I did not follow Justin until Sebastian Rogers. I don't know, Cece. I haven't been checking. Like I said, guys, I wouldn't even known that this was going on. Um, unless I was watching Justin, but see, I didn't get to watch most of it because I was doing my own thing. That's as a creator, that's what happens. I don't get to catch everything because I'm doing my own thing. Yesterday I was so over it, and I never publicly shamed her at all. Yesterday I was over it. I'm sorry, Sam. I know, and I didn't go on last night, so not particularly, not really. I mean, they can blur a little bit. If you have like a microphone on and it's all connected to your computer, I mean it will. It might blur or cancel out some of the noise. Um, but not all of it. And especially when you have someone in the background, in my opinion, that's vying for attention. um you know MST, you're not. I do have other guys, but some nights you are. If Joe is in here, if Joe will please come out of the bushes, if you're in here, Joe, we'll have another. We can even it a little bit, but no. MST, most of my audience, that my demographic is women, older women, right? That's just, it's always been that way. And I like it that way. Not that I don't want men in here at all. I love men, but I'm just saying, um that's what my demographic is. And true crime, that's typical. You were watching Robini. I did not watch. I did not see it. Excuse me. But I heard that it was clipped, of course. I mean, we got, everybody gets these things. It doesn't matter once they're out there. So, oh, Coffee Crime and Cat says that she was talking about Samantha Joy, and I have no idea who that is. I really don't, but welcome in, Coffee Crime and Cats, and thank you for letting us know. And the only man in the group, he says, sorry, I read that one. That's so funny, though. Not trying to even get into the arguments over something or fight with people over Brit. I'm not here for that. Yeah, I don't blame you, Sam, and I'm sorry. And maybe if it was a misunderstanding, you guys can talk it out. So Holly's like, I was sleeping. Aw. He put the letter up. He sent her back in September, and she said she never got on Justin for all. Aw, thanks, MST. I appreciate that a lot, a lot. I'm over it. Yeah. All love and peace. Yeah. I think that's good. I think the true crime stuff is where she should really stick with, but be respectful. You know, you got to be respectful about it. And there's things that I've learned along the way myself, guys. I mean, I've learned a lot, you know. Um, that's funny, Sam. You're too funny. And you just got to be, you know, yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying, BB. I said that. No, that's what I meant. In what I'm saying is that when somebody wants on your panel and then they everybody knows, you know, that person because she was on her panel. I mean, yeah, we would have probably known her from YouTube, but like because she was on Brittany's panel, she gathered a bunch of information and take it back to other people, and she was going panel to panel talking crap. Yeah, I mean, that there's no doubt about it. And that's the problem with having somebody who's not a YouTube creator coming up on your panel, because after a while they think that they're famous and more famous than you, and people are coming in here to listen to me when it's Britney's show. And then they turn around and go and have panel hop and say bad things about her, you know? And that's not okay either. No, it's okay, BB. It's all right. I appreciate you getting clarity on that. Yeah, little Miss Sharon says I saw it too. Yeah, yeah. They just go on, and IML agrees. Yeah, they just go on there and they use her. That was horrible. You think the thud could be Katie fed Sebastian something at the restaurant and or thought the thud would be heard on the camera at home, so she covered for it. I really don't know what to think of the thud because I don't believe Katie's story at all, you know? So, I didn't oh, thank you, KJ. Thanks for being here. KJ Max says it didn't appear so homey or innocent for an objective viewpoint. I so carry water for Brit. I just thought you'd want to know how it appears. When it comes to what, KJ Mac? I'm sorry. Did I miss something up on because I did go through. Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry. You guys were saying something completely different. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I did miss something. I got it behind in chat. All right, guys. Well, yeah, BB, and it's not it's something that happens to the best of all of us, right? It really does. I've had people do that to me. I have, even with my small channel. People have done that very thing to me where they tried to befriend me, you know, and then use me for the panel, right? Because they don't want to do their own show. Um, the thing and again, what I had to agree with Smiley about, but I was quiet and I was listening mostly too, um, was that people don't want to work hard, right? People don't want to work hard to get noticed. They want to step on the backs of others. And again, it's something that if somebody's a climber, they do that. They do that. You know, they'll just use you for what they can get off of you. And they're not looking to be a team or anything like that, you know? I actually had a mod in here, Meganels is the name, and she told me that people come in the chat to see her and not to watch my show. Like, talk about delusions of grandeur. And then I have to be a whole ass diva and be like, no, they actually come to see me. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's weird. It's a mind fuck. And it's happened to me too. So I see it. Again, I've also been in abuse and I see it exactly for what it is, you know? So, Kiki, I love doing panels with you though, because you work just as hard as I do at the research and stuff, you know? But when other people just want to come up there and, you know, I mean, it's like, I'll use two other examples: Town Chat Cafe and Panda Bear's mom. They wanted to do a panel on Devlin, and I worked with them for 2 days. I took 2 days out of my own time to work with them to get them ready to be on the panel, and it was a nightmare from hell. I still have nightmares over it because it was so horribly put together. Even though I told them both how I run my show and what I expect out of a situation is being professional. Instead, Panda Bear's mom spread a bunch of her own theories and straight up lied. Jessica doesn't want to talk to anybody, blah, blah, blah. You know, but they do that. You know, Kiki, and you don't do that. You're straight with me. We work together, right? Yeah. And that's a huge difference, isn't it? Than somebody just being like, well, I want to come up on your panel and talk, and I'm not going to do anything to research or nothing. That's crazy. And, you know, we're responsible for what's said on our panels. We're responsible for what's said in our chat. So for somebody to do that to somebody else, that's not a friend. That's a foe if I've ever seen one. Right? Straight up. Protect yourself, because that's what people will do, unfortunately. So, and you know, unfortunately, some of us are the example. Diva lady. I had to go full on diva. Like, no, ain't nobody coming in here to say you know. And then I felt like crap. I'm like, well, that's real nice, you know, that I even have to say that. But why would she think that people come in here to see her and she's a mod? So that was a wrench that was wasted. Threw that one in the trash. Brenda Calvert says, maybe I didn't watch AWBJ enough to really understand, but I kind of felt like she liked being a victim and just couldn't get down with that. Yeah, well, it's like the conditioned response to get the super chats. It is. I mean, it's clear, you know, in my opinion. So, yeah, she totally did that. She totally did that. So, and it happens, you know, it does. It really happens. Good morning, Faye. You know, but either way. Okay, so I have this video. I put an intro in it. It's one of the ones that I've been kind of using interchangeably, right, in different ones, right? Um I know, Lisa, and that's what's sad about Devlin's case. And a lot of the information that's been out on Devlin's case was really, really wrong to begin with, which is, I mean, I'm working to try to help with that, but I mean, I don't know. Like I said, if people watch me long enough, they know that I make videos and I put receipts in the videos, like you're gonna see in here. Um, and that's just how I do things, right? Like if I say something I want to show you guys, and you know, I think that it's just kind of gets wasted if people don't see it for what it is, you know. Um, I will do a fast breakdown on Devlin Tate. So give me a second. Let me take this off really quick. So Devlin Tate went missing on let's see, April 21st of 2025. Let me see which one I can bring up in this. So Devlin was just shy of 19 years old when he went missing in broad daylight, presumably. He left his home in Lake Odessa, Michigan, and he was headed over to Carl's supermarket. Now, there was an eyewitness that saw him stop over by the dumpsters, which he did dumpster dive for cans and bottles to turn in over at Carl's for money frequently. But they did see him over there that morning around 8 o'clock. And then he checked out at Carl's supermarket around 8:21 a.m. He was caught on camera there on surveillance, and he bought uh, something to eat and something to drink with his EBT or his food card. They call it a bridge card in Michigan. And so Devlin used that. Uh, no, it's okay. No worries. I appreciate you asking about Devlin because his story does matter. And I've gotten very involved in his case. And so he headed over to Lake Odessa laundromat to plug in his phone to charge it. Now, he was living with his sister Tamra and then her daughter in the Star Wars t-shirt. Their mother is in green, and that's Sandra. Devlin was adopted by Sandra and her husband Bill when he was a baby. And let me pull this family tree up. So initially when I started talking to Devlin's biological mom, there was some differences in whether Devlin whose Devlin father is. I'll just say that. So there was many possibilities of his father being one of four guys, right? So in my research and from what I can tell, Jessica and Tim Hatfield were most likely his parents, right? Even though I have Adam over here, but I've also talked with Adam's mom. We're going to kind of deep dive into that also. But long story short, Jessica was living in, which is the lady in the blue, was living in Arizona at the time of Devlin's disappearance, and he was living with Tamra, Sabrina's boyfriend, and Sabrina's young son. Matt Tate, the one in the corner, is his other brother, and he was the last one to speak with him at the laundromat. So Devlin goes over there, he plugs his phone in because he's not allowed to use the electricity at Tamra and Sabrina's house, right? They told him if he didn't want to do the chores, then he would have to go to the laundromat or to the library, or he'd go to Penny's Pizza. They'd also give him free food off the buffet, that sort of thing. He would have to go there in order to charge his phone. So that's what he did that morning. Matt says that he left there at 9:30 a.m. and then we don't know what happened to Devlin after that. There was one sighting of Devlin that could be confirmed by two different sources. That's the only reason I tend to bring that sighting up. And that was at 3 o'clock near the trailer park. Now, Jessica got a phone call from Matt at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, April 21st, 2025, saying that no one had heard from Devlin that day. And so after that, she got a phone call from Sabrina, but then Sabrina waited to report Devlin missing until 10:30 p.m. And in the dispatch audio, we can hear Sabrina calling it in, telling the dispatcher that they hadn't heard from him, and explaining that he may be at the Parapro's house, which is his teacher's aide from when he was in junior high school, who lived right at the trailer park and knew Devlin. So after that, they did have his last phone ping around 11:30 in the trailer park where Sabrina said he might be, but Devlin was not there and neither was his phone after further searches were done. So Devlin's been missing for 9 months. We do not know whether Devlin was speaking with someone he wasn't supposed to, or whether or not something more nefarious happened when it comes to his family, right? So I know Animal, that's just what the family calls that lady, and she calls herself as a parapro. I don't know why. I don't know why she doesn't just say teacher's aide, you know? Trailer park was the last phone ping, Lisa. Yeah, exactly where Sabrina said it would be, which is strange, right? And again, I don't know what has happened to Devlin. I will say that the police, in my opinion, are not doing what they're supposed to be doing in this case. And the reason that I say that is because most recently, Devlin or someone else deleted Facebook posts off of his Facebook, right? And this was just back in November. And so that concerns me because if Devlin did not erase these posts, who did? Right? So I had all of that information. I sent it over to the police. And nothing has come of it. And as far as I know, um, it's not an area of focus. And I think it should be. So the parapro was interviewed, yes, Kiki, and I have her interview here on the channel, but also Piper on Facebook was the one who did the interview. And I thought it was a good one, you know? Yeah, yeah, they're a helper. They're a helper. Yeah, Brandy, it is sad. You never know how you make somebody feel and shame on them. You know, it's just there's a lot to Devlin's story. And of course, I do have a difference of opinion when it comes to whether Devlin was abused or not. Um, I think they do need to geofence the area. I think they should have done that since the beginning, Faye. Whether they did or not, I don't know. But again, I just think it's an unfortunate situation that Devlin has been put into. Now, so he does not have a nickname to my knowledge. Um, they just call him Devlin. So yes, Devlin's mind state is important because he could have felt like everything was on his shoulders, and I think he really did. There's a lot that I was lucky enough to have talked with Tamara about today. Her and I have been talking I'll just say for about 4.5 months, right? And it always hasn't been, the best relationship in terms of there were things that she didn't like that I had said and that sort of thing. Those things don't matter as much as what we can do when we work together. So um I'm going to get more in depth on what we were talking about, but it did open my eyes to maybe more of what Devlin was going through and also what was going on with Tim, Devlin's um the guy that signed Devlin's birth certificate. So we're going to go more into that because I am planning a live about that. Exactly, Cece, exactly. And they don't seem to have they're not urgent about that at all. In my opinion, it's awful and they need to get on it. What are they waiting for? He had a really cheap phone. It was a burner phone, Brandy, which sucks. I know, but it was a burner phone. So, but they were able to get the phone ping. Um so But all right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and switch gears over really quick. And just bear with me here. I want to put, there we go. We'll put that one up for now. All right. Well, actually, maybe we could do this one. Because in my opinion, Sheriff Craddock needs to get off his butt and get to it. Right? Let's get to this. All right. So let me share this. I'm just going to play the intro out, guys. This is for Sebastian. I want people to remember, you know, he is a human being. He is a human being, and his story is real. And when we talk about the victimology with Katie and her side of the family, I think we have to keep in mind that Sebastian is missing. And so in order for us to get the best idea about Sebastian's life and what could have happened to him, I think it's important to explore this subject. And thank you so much, Kiki. Thank you. I know it's a lot of information, Sam. It is. It is. And I've done a lot of, you know, I've put out a lot of information too. Just in terms of like the dispatch, we started at the beginning and kind of worked our way through. And then I've also talked with Sabrina. She came up on the panel as well. So we did like a 4-hour live, you know. So all right, guys. So here's Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers has been missing for almost 2 years. He's a human being and he deserves better. Let's watch.
No conditions, no exceptions, just redemption, endless blessings, no frustration, no hesitation, just forgiveness for his children. No conditions, no exceptions, just redemption, endless blessings, no frustration, no hesitation, just forgiveness for his children. And shatter my excuses, Lord, I wanna do this time to stop putting limits on your promises. Broken but beloved, wounded but unwanted, nothing in this world can change your view of me. No conditions, no exceptions, just redemption, endless blessings, no frustration, no hesitation, just forgiveness for his children. So shatter my excuses, Lord, I wanna do this time to stop putting limits on your promises. Broken but beloved, wounded but unwanted, nothing in this world can change your view of me. Lord, I come, no more fear, I'm drawing near. Lord, I come, no more doubt, I want you now. our promises. Broken but beloved, wounded but I'm wanted. Nothing in this world can change your view of me. Nothing in this world can change your view of me. Nothing in this world can change your view of me.
Oh my God, the things I'm about to show you folks will be shocking to the core. We are covering the Sebastian Rogers case. 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was reported missing February 26, 2024, reported missing by his mom, Katie Proudfoot, and his stepfather, Christopher Andrew Proudfoot. They called the Sumner County's Sheriff's Office to report this young man with autism missing a little after 6 a.m. February 26. Chris Proudfoot used the words 6:20 a.m. to make the call. Sebastian has still not been found. Today is May 3rd, 2024. Where's Sebastian Rogers? Now, we've been covering this case extensively on JLR Investigates. Oh, my gosh. We thought Chris Proudfoot was bad. A lot of us. And we thought behaviors of the Proudfoot side of the family, which would be the Bowersocks, were bad. But folks, ladies and gentlemen, we just deep dived in the last couple of days into Katie Proudfoot's side of the family. And what I'm about to show you is literally your jaw will drop. The amount of bad actors and actresses on the side of Katie Proudfoot's family. And it is shocking. It's horrible. And I want to know. I have a lot of questions now, particularly towards the Proudfoots, Katie and Christopher. Has Katie, in the last 2 months, 3 months, has she been in any contact whatsoever with anyone on her side of the family, her or Chris? And we're talking about the Paynes. We're talking about the Rosenbaums. We're talking about the McClures. Katie comes from a family of, we talked about the God's misfits. We'll just call them a family of misfits. We're talking about family member after family member after family member of Katie that has done egregious things to children. Registered SOs, NUR, DERS, incest. It's bad, folks. It's as bad as you could be. And no one has really touched on this until a few days ago.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. This is really, really bad, guys. I mean, worse than I really thought, right? Because I knew that it was already bad. You know, Katie is a little girl being put through that. And again, this isn't to stick up for anything that Katie has done or any of her behaviors thus far, but I think it gives us a window into how she became so heartless, so cold-hearted, right? And because sometimes we need to do that in order to survive. You know, they're a family of misfits, Chuchi. And I mean, unbelievable. And this video isn't going to cover the pain side of things, right? We're going to mainly focus on what was going on her mom's side of the family. So just so everybody knows, I'm going to still kind of look into more, but I find it interesting and I find it odd that people in the beginning were saying that Sebastian wasn't allowed around Faith, or they didn't like him being around Faith, But all of the adults on Katie's side of the family have a propensity to hurt little children who are girls. And we're going to go over that. So I just want to kind of preface that a little bit. You know, Animal, there is some supporting evidence in here to suggest that her mother was married to this McClure character, right? Larry McClure, at the time. And because the victims were underage, we do not know the identity of the victims, but the timing absolutely matches with the crime, right? Larry McClure was sentenced. Also, so was her mother for allegedly hurting Katie, right? It's terrible, right? And I figured let's leave it at that. But the problem is, and she did, Lisa, thank you. She did do an extensive interview with Yeda, right? And I know that Yeda kind of backtracked a lot in that as well, or after the fact. But I don't think she was lying because her story does match up to all of this and the time frame. So it's very sad, but I don't want it. I don't want the fact that it's sad, which it very much is, to overshadow the connections that may be present, you know, there. So, let's go ahead and keep watching.
People have been kind of skating around it and trying to say, well, you know, Katie's mom is a registered SO, but nothing really to it. But this is a wild ride, folks, that you're about to be taken on. I don't even know where to start because there's just so many players. We're talking about half-sisters of Katie that have been in trouble. All while Sebastian is, you know, missing. This post here pretty much puts everything in a nutshell. Katie's family is absolutely bat, and you see it. Boom. We thought the Bowerstocks and Proud Feet were crazy, but Katie's mom, wow. Suzette Rosenbaum. Check out her mugshot. She is frightening. She's a RSO, and allegedly it's from doing it to Katie. Then she was married to the infamous Larry McClure. Some of you may remember his story. I know I do. So in our group, they actually posted the marriage license between this guy, Larry McClure, and Suzette Rosenbaum, who is Katie's mom. And all I can say, folks, that we are talking about individuals that are the worst of the worst in our society. Ones that you have nightmares over. Ones when you tuck your kids to bed at night, you fear these people. That's who we're talking about, people. Katie's mom right here. Katie's mom. Frances Suzette Rosenbaum. And we shared a little bit about her yesterday. From Virginia, has ties to North Carolina. A lot of her family is from North Carolina, also Wisconsin, West Virginia too, all over the country. We're talking about a national thing. So Katie's mom. Now, who did this woman marry? And I'm about to show you who this woman married. This guy. And this guy's name is Larry Paul McClure. And look at the title of this article. Convicted SO accused of KILLING daughter's boyfriend and then marrying the daughter. Now, this is technically Katie Proudfoot's stepdad because he married Katie's mom. It's the stepdad, which people are like, what?
Right. I mean, very shocking to see this, right? But who else is that gonna find, right? With her propensity to hurt, children, her own daughter. So, of course, birds of a feather, right? Which makes things even worse. So we're going to get into Mr. McClure's story here with his two other daughters who are not related to Katie, by the way. This would have been a stepfather of hers. But I think it's important to recognize that, these are people and connections to Katie herself, right? And with her behavior, it doesn't surprise me, but I think it's something that has been overlooked. So I'm going to go over his story here shortly. I'll kind of read it off for you guys. And then we're going to get into the marriage license of Frances and Larry McClure.
Katie Proudfoot's stepdad, right there. Remember these faces. And do your own independent research. Because it is her family.
Okay, guys, so John McGuire is the victim here. This is John McGuire's case files. John was born in 1981. He was born in Minnesota. John Thomas McGuire grew up in a close-knit family. He was known for his kind-hearted nature and willingness to help others. He had a passion for mechanics and spent much of his free time fixing cars and motorcycles. John was a devoted father and stayed in close contact with his children and extended family. He was known as a hard worker, taking on various jobs in construction and repair work. In February 2019, John Thomas McGuire, a 38-year-old from Autatona, Minnesota, was murdered in Skyguski, West Virginia. The crime involved Larry Paul McClure Sr. and his two daughters, Amanda McClure and Anna Marie Chaudhary. Sorry. And if I mispronounced that, I apologize. All right, so this is a picture of the victim here. Rest in peace, John McGuire, and I am sorry that you had to endure what you did and that you had the experience that you did. My heart goes out to John's family, and I hope that I do his story justice because I don't want him to get lost in the mix ever. I don't want the victims to ever fall by the wayside to these monsters, no matter how horrific the details of what they did are. Okay, so the murder of John McGuire. In February of 2019, John Thomas McGuire, a 38-year-old, sorry. I already read that part. So his early life, he was born in 1981 in Minnesota. He liked cars, motorcycles, mechanics. And then his personal life, John was devoted father, and he stayed in close contact with his family and children and extended family. So he was a father at the time of his untimely passing and the taking of his life. He was known as a hard worker and did various jobs in construction and did repair work. In the later years, John became involved in a relationship with Amanda McClure, and I will show you Amanda. So Amanda McClure is this woman in the picture here. So you have Amanda and Anna, and John and Amanda were a couple, right? He got involved with Amanda. Struggling with financial instability, he traveled to West Virginia with Amanda to seek temporary housing with her biological father, Larry McClure. His tragic end came on February 14th, 2019. John was brutally murdered by Larry McClure, Amanda McClure, and Anna Chowdhury. His death was part of a horrific crime that included torture, drug use, and an attempt to cover up the murder. His remains were discovered in September of 2019 after Larry McClure confessed to the crime. And I do have his confession note. Okay, so in early 2019, John McClure and his girlfriend, Amanda McClure, were living in Minnesota, heavily addicted to mathematics. Without steady jobs, their money quickly ran out, and when the money was gone, so were the drugs. Desperate and struggling through withdrawal, Amanda had an idea. They could travel to West Virginia and stay with her biological father, Larry McClure Sr. Amanda had been estranged from Larry for most of her life, having been raised by adoptive parents. So they were estranged because, in my opinion, from what I've read, Larry was in jail for 17 years for hurting, sexually abusing a young family member, which I do believe that is most likely Katie Proudfoot when she was little. Sick, disgusting man he is. And her mother was a part of that as well, unfortunately. Why she sought him out instead of her adoptive parents, that is, remains unclear. Perhaps out of shame for her addiction or fear that they would force her into sobriety. Her past was already riddled with bad decisions, reflected in a 32-page rap sheet filled with drug-related arrests, but this choice would prove to be the worst. The journey to West Virginia. In early February of 2019, John and Amanda set out for West Virginia. However, their journey came to a halt when their car broke down in Indiana. Stranded with no way forward, Amanda called Larry for help. Larry then contacted his other daughter, Anna, who had also been estranged from him for years and was living in North Carolina. Now, after years apart, all three would reunite. Larry and Anna drove to Indiana, picked up the couple, and brought them back to Larry's rural trailer near Skygusky, West Virginia. Once they were there, they attempted to manufacture their own mathematics. Lacking the correct formula, the batch failed to crystallize. Dismissing it as a bad batch, they stored the liquid drug in glass jars. Instead of trying again, they simply bought real mathematics and resumed their binging. As dangerous tensions build. As the days passed and the four remained in a constant drug-fused haze, John expressed his love for Amanda and his intention to marry her. Instead of being happy for his daughter, Larry reacted with quiet anger. Anna later described his father as slipping into a quiet rage following John's confession. Over the next few days, Larry frequently took Amanda aside for private conversations, and Anna never asked what they discussed, but the tension in the house grew increasingly uncomfortable, right? And this has a lot to do with the poisoning of Amanda by her father, Larry. And of course, when this is a drug-fueled situation or drug-induced situation, there's a lot of paranoia, hallucinations, staying awake for days on end, things like that, right? So Anna later described her father as, oh, sorry, I already read that one. Then came Valentine's Day. John bought a bottle of wine for a special dinner, and the group shared steaks before indulging in another round of mathematics. Okay, now here's where the trust game comes in, guys. And I talked about this a little bit earlier. That evening, as they sat in the living room, Larry suggested they play a trust game. The rules were simple. John would allow Larry to tie his legs to a kitchen chair, and John agreed. The moment his legs were bound, the game turned sinister, and Larry's expression shifted, and Anna recalled a creepy smile spreading across his face. Lovely. Sensing danger, John tried to free himself. As he leaned down to untie his legs, Amanda smashed the empty wine bottle over his head, shattering it. They tied up John's arms, and Larry began an interrogation. Who are you? John, confused and frightened, insisted he was just John McGuire. He even offered his social security card as proof. Larry didn't accept that answer. Instead, he accused John of being a federal agent. When John refused to confess, the three took turns beating him. How tragic. At one point, Larry instructed Anna to inject John with the failed batch of meth, calling it a truth serum. Anna filled 2 syringes and injected the liquid directly into John's carotid artery. She later said she thought it would not kill him. It didn't. Instead, John continued denying the accusation while the trio continued torturing him. And again, my heart goes out to John's family. This is absolutely awful. The murder. After 2 or 3 days of torment, they decided it was time to end John's life. Larry stood on John's chest while Amanda placed a trash bag over his head. As John struggled for air, Anna strangled him with a rope. So they were all 3 involved. Once he was dead, they wrapped his body in more trash bags, and Larry then ordered his daughters to dig a shallow grave near the trailer where they buried John. A twisted relationship. Okay, guys, this is where it gets really nasty, and it's absolutely horrific what these people are capable of. And in my opinion, this is what the product of using math is, right? And I'm not talking about arithmetic, right? We kind of are all on the same page. We know what we're talking about. Hey, Star. Hello, TN Nurse. Good to see you. So, it's bad. So they engage in this twisted relationship. Immediately after the murder, Larry and Amanda entered what Anna later described as a relationship, according to the criminal complaint filed by West Virginia police. It was sexual, and Anna and Amanda hadn't been raised by their biological father, and there was a dark reason why. This is where I believe the story connects with Sebastian's mother, Katie. Larry had recently been released from prison after serving more than 17 years for sexually abusing a young relative between the ages of 6 and 12. While the identity of his victim remains undisclosed, both Anna and Amanda were in that age range at the time of his crimes. But I believe he was married to Frances Rosenbaum at that time. So I don't know if those girls were in the custody or care of these 2 at that time. Both daughters would later testify that Larry had been intensely jealous of Amanda. Amanda herself admitted. My dad didn't want anyone else near me. Gross, right? I mean, that's what comes along with that. It's likely that Larry had manipulated Amanda into believing John was an informant, using math-induced paranoia to convince her to go along with his plan. This is where they desecrate poor John's body as if what they did to him isn't bad enough. Even after John was dead and buried, their paranoia didn't fade. 6 days later, the trio became convinced that John really wasn't dead. Wow. They dug up his body and drove wooden stakes and other debris through him and then dismembered him before reburying the remains inside the yard. A disturbing marriage. Less than a month after the murder, John and Amanda took their relationship to the next level. They drove to Virginia and got married. Anna served as a witness. Because incestuous marriage is illegal in Virginia, Amanda forged her marriage license, writing a fake name in place of her father's. Meanwhile, John's family had no idea what had happened to him. By June, they reported him missing and began posting on Facebook searching for answers. Amanda, now living as Larry's wife, continued cashing John's Social Security checks. Wow. And these are the people we're dealing with. Hello, Linda Hall. These are the people we're dealing with. The arrest. At some point, the McClures relocated to Kentucky, where Larry, as a convicted sex offender, was required to register to the law, and he didn't. When he was arrested in September of 2019 for failing to register, Larry wasted no time confessing. But he didn't just confess, he threw his own daughters under the bus, claiming Amanda was the mastermind behind the crime. He insisted he had no idea why she wanted John dead. He provided authorities with every detail of the murder, including the location of John's remains. Thank God for that. On September 24th, 2019, investigators unearthed John's body exactly where Larry said it would be. Days later in October, Amanda and Anna were arrested. Larry and Anna were charged with first-degree murder. Anna, in exchange for testifying against her sister, was charged with second-degree murder. All three pled guilty. Larry, the first to confess, wrote a letter stating he didn't want the courts wasting taxpayer money on a trial. He was sentenced to life without parole in August of 2020. At Amanda's sentencing in October of 2020, she testified about her father's jealousy and control over her. The judge acknowledged her history of abuse, but ruled that it was no excuse, right? Amanda was sentenced to 40 years. At Anna's sentencing in March of 2021, she claimed she had only participated out of fear that Larry would kill her and her children. She too was sentenced to 40 years. Conclusion: the murder of John McClure was a chilling combination of addiction, manipulation, and deep-seated trauma. Larry McClure Sr., a man with a history of sexual abuse, used drugs and fear to control his daughters, leading to a horrific crime that ultimately destroyed 3 lives and ended 1. Now, of course, this is the opinion of the author, and I think they did a stellar job. He was her stepfather at one point. Yes, Joe. And we're going to see, they had the marriage license and everything up. I think it was 1995, if I'm not mistaken. So I myself believe that as adults, all of these people are equally responsible for this crime, in my opinion. I don't feel sorry for the daughters. Yeah, their upbringing was horrible, but again, as the judge stated, it's no excuse. No excuse at all, in my opinion. Poor John. John's family never saw justice in the way they hoped, but at least his killers will spend the rest of their lives in prison. I hope they never let him out. All right, so I just wanted to go over no trial, no taxpayers' money spent for a trial. And this is Larry's handwriting in Larry's confession note. It is hard for the state of West Virginia to fight against itself because I plead guilty, no contest. Thank you for your time on this matter, Larry Paul McClure Sr. And then he signs it. Signed confession. Okay, and then I want to show you guys the pictures. So right here is the McClure property. And this is in Skygusky, West Virginia. And you can see it's littered, you know, like any other meth property, really. Mathematics property. Okay, here is the front. And you can also see there's little labs too. I'm sure that's where they were cooking. And I'm not talking about making baked potatoes either. Here's another portion, and you can see, little mobile mathematic lab. And, here is also a picture of, just trash everywhere. It really kind of reminds me of, well, never mind. I'm not going to say it. All right, here's the front door view, right? Just random stuff everywhere. I mean, that's the way they keep things. People who like to do a lot of mathematics and stuff like that, they like to take things apart, right? And then they don't put them back together. It's a very strange drug to be on. Right? Just random stuff, a bathtub, God only knows what happened in that. Here's another picture of the crime scene. And then right here is the actual spot where they had buried John. Really, really sad. Absolutely sad. And I apologize for not paying attention to the chat. Hey, single mom, good to see you. So basically, that's what we have here. And these are people that are, definitely connected to Katie's family some way, shape, or form. And obviously, even if Larry hasn't talked to someone in 17 years because he's been locked up, that doesn't stop him from getting back in touch with them. That's all I'm going to say about that.
But it even gets worse, folks. Because now we're also talking about, and I shared this, Katie's sister or half-sister. I don't know how many sisters she has out there. This is Laura McClure. I guess it's Larry's daughter. But what she did was pretty bad too. What in the world are we getting to in this case?
All right, so this is a gal with the same last name, McClure. Sex assault of a girl, 15, that's jail, probation for Chippewa Falls woman, right? And this woman was hurting a 15-year-old. It's sad. It's very, very sad that they're surrounded by people that would hurt children. And again, I have to point to what Seth Rogers said in my chat, right? He was talking about how he doesn't understand. Okay, maybe it was Justin's. I'm sorry. I think it was Justin's. Either way, he was like, I don't understand why Katie and Chris are surrounding themselves with people who are addicts or who are on drugs. And I think the answer is because they've always been around people like that. Katie has, at least. Those are Katie's peeps, right? It seems like that anyway. But then again, it seems like she did get away from that life for a while, and she was able to kind of get away and out of it. And when you get away and out of it, you usually stay away from it and out of it, right? Not many people decide that they're going to go back to it. then again, dirty deeds are done dirt cheap. And if these people are in need of a fix, then of course they're going to go and do anything, and I think they might be dealing also, Kylie. I mean, I don't think that's far-fetched. I really don't. But I do know that they like to use people, in my opinion, in order to get what they want. And they're not as rich as people think they are. They do have money, but I just think that they're able to get people to do things for cheaper when they are on these types of drugs.
Now I have questions. Since the TBI, possibly FBI, and Sumner County Sheriff's Office, have they vetted and spoken to any of these people? Some of them are in prison. Some of them have siblings all over the country. Has authorities at least... Here's the thing, folks, with Katie's mom. I don't know if Katie is on good standing with her mom. Some people say yeah. Some people say no. I don't know. Some people...
Okay, so I agree with what JLR is saying. And again, guys, this was May 3rd of 2024 when JLR put this out, right? So with that being said, Seth did a live stream after this, right? That was talking about how Katie allowed, and this is from that live stream, and we were looking at it the other night too, from that exact live stream where Seth was telling us that Katie had allowed Sebastian to be there with Francis and Suzette, and they were allowed to be there alone with Sebastian while Katie went to dinner with her dad. And her dad's last name is Payne, right? So the Payne, we're not going to get into the Paynes tonight, but just for all intents and purposes, she went to go visit with him and go to dinner, and she left Sebastian with an RSO. Well, when Sebastian had called his dad to speak with him, and Seth is in California at this time, Katie was in West Virginia for a funeral, her grandfather's funeral, and he realized that Katie had left Sebastian with them, and he called the police and sent the police over there to do a well check on Sebastian. So is she in good standing with her mother? I'm sure she is. I think that she definitely was at that time, and she was justifying her actions by even leaving Sebastian by himself with her. All I have to say is God help Faith, and why would anybody on the Bower Sox and Proudfoot side allow for Faith to be around Katie alone if she makes that own decision for her own child? It is absolutely preposterous to think that she's going to take care of that young lady like she needs to be taken care of, on both sides of the family. I agree. TN Nurse. But, Katie's side of the family, we were guilted into not talking about them because of the horrible things that happened to Katie, right? But at this point, 2 years in, I think it's time to talk about it, because it's not fair that Sebastian's missing for 2 years and we're just going to say, well, that subject's off limits. It's on limits for me now. It really is. It's on limits. Because Sebastian's still missing, and it needs to be discussed. It needs to be known, because when I went over to watch some of the other coverage on the McClure case, I noticed that only one person made this connection. And again, JLR put this out in the beginning. Everybody should know who Katie's family is and what they are, right? Not just only focusing in on Chris's family, which we'll get into a little bit later too. But I agree. Dirty money, dirty deeds. They do not care. And it's something that we have to, discuss. And then again, we also know that recently there's this crap that's been put out by Chris Proudfoot telling Nerdy Addict that Sebastian had a burner phone with his grandmother's information on it, not specifying which grandmother, So there's that.
Will say what she went to prison for is because what happened to Katie. Is it possible, folks? Is it possible that these people, since Katie was a victim to them years ago, could have sought revenge on Katie? Now we're coming up with theories.
I don't believe that that's true, but I don't think that that would be far-fetched if you're just finding out about this, right? I think it would be reasonable to think that. At this point, I do not believe that or agree with that theory. I think that at this point, it's very possible that Katie could have been in cahoots with one of them or several of them.
But that side of the family needs to be talked about, considering there is a missing child that I don't believe just walked off. And most people don't believe just walked off the porch and vanished. Some people now think he was either taken, kidnapped, or lured out and went somewhere with someone. But you're talking about a family lineage on Katie Proudfoot's side of the family that has done the worst of the worst to kids around the same age as Sebastian.
Boom. They have done bad things around the age of Sebastian to children. They're okay to hurt anyone. Anyone. But mainly they like to hurt kids.
Is Katie Proudfoot on good standing with Frances Suzette Rosenbaum?
And you know what, Sheriff Craddock, where the hell are you? Did you look into these people? Because I'm here to tell you, if they're supplying these people with mathematics, and maybe they would be someone who would hold Sebastian. Get on it. Get on it. Because it's been way too long. And these are the types of things why people are upset right now.
Well, I think she might be, because Katie's commenting on the grandma's Facebook post. The plot does thicken. But why hasn't this even been talked about in reference to her side of the family and the misfits, predators? How come it hasn't even been talked about? It's interesting that Katie's sister, this one, who's on probation, she's not in jail. Maybe she's off probation now. Look at the age, 15 years old. This is Katie's half sister. And you can see they almost look alike. So you got her, and you have the mom, and you have this guy, Larry Paul McClure. Larry Paul McClure. So this guy, a registered SO who served more than 17 years in prison for doing things to a relative, is now charged with MURDERING, his own daughter's boyfriend, and then marrying her. Now, I'm not going to get into the details on this, but just...
Okay, so we already got into the details, but I will say that, it's very important to know these things because we didn't know them before, right? Or maybe some of us are just learning, or we've already known this. But I think there's a lot to be said because other true crime creators, knowing that they covered this case. I hope that they would look deeper in and really figure out if there's any correlation as well. So, you know, to only see one comment in connection with this case, I'm very surprised. But again, we had Mr. Proudfoot coming out, throwing a fit, blaming Seth, blaming his PIs. And, you know, this was all put out by JLR before that, right? Because the Web Sleuths interview happened in April, but JLR was still putting these things out there and looking in and deep diving into this family and why they would let these people out to commit worse crimes, right? Or equally as bad. I mean, you hurt somebody like that when they're little, you change who they are forever. It doesn't even matter any age really, but I mean, when you're little, you're still learning the world, and you know, it's horribly disgusting. You know, but we have to also consider that when there's a missing child.
If you get the chance, I encourage all of you to Google Larry Paul McClure. They even posted the marriage certificate in our Facebook group. Marriage certificate is right here. The marriage certificate was posted. Okay, hear me out. I did some digging. I could be completely wrong here, but this looks like it could be Katie's half-sibling here. The first picture is uncanny. Frances, Katie's mother, married a guy named Larry McClure in 1995. Marriage license provided below. Also, you see a story on the Larry McClure, a registered SO who MURDER, the daughter's boyfriend, to marry daughter Amanda McClure with the help of another daughter. I'm shocked if this is all connected. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But what are the odds and locations? I mean, think about this. And then someone responds in the comments, nobody can convince me this isn't Katie's half-sister. Huh. Nobody can convince me this is Katie's half-sister. What do you think? Look alike? Yeah. They definitely look like each other. So we are on it. Oh, JLR investigates in on this particular topic. And I strongly encourage all of you to also be on it. And keep those names out there. Maybe ask authorities. Have you personally vetted all these people? Katie's mom. This is a 213 mugshot, Virginia. Has ties to Chesapeake, Virginia, and ties to North Carolina. A lot of people think that there could be, you know, something with that picture of maybe Sebastian in North Carolina, since the Rosenbaums, and there's many of them, Rosenbaums, McClures, and Paynes. 3 of those names. See, Katie used to be...
And also, I do want to point out, too, before JLR talks about how Katie, you know, used to be, I also want to point out that they have kept tabs on Frances. Like, this is one of her, you know, earlier mug shots when she's younger, but we can also see them progress as they are updating her picture for people to, you know, see it as well. So... John was unalived in 2019, Robini, unfortunately, poor guy. So, and I think that, you know, it's a strong possibility that the green hood, I mean, the green hoodie looks a lot like Frances, but the problem that I have is that Sebastian acted like he didn't know her. Like, if that was his grandma, would he say hi? Or would he be too nervous to say hi because he knows that his father wouldn't like that, right? Because his dad made it clear that, you know, you're not supposed to be around her, right? That she's not a good person to be around. And I absolutely agree with him 100%, you know.
Katie Lynn Payne. Before she married, well, she used to be Katie Rogers, married to Seth Rogers. The question is, I have for Christopher Andrew Proudfoot, is when he got into this with Katie, when Christopher got into this with Katie, did he know what Did he know anything about Katie's side of the family? Because usually when you get into relationships with someone, you would want to know a little bit about their side of the family, right? Did he just not care? Did he overlook it? Did he just think that love conquers everything and he can disregard this? Someone needs to ask Chris if Chris is aware of Katie's side of the family and Katie's dad, stepdad, Larry McClure, and Katie's mom, Frances Suzette Rosenbaum, and Katie's half-sister. And if he doesn't care, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? What does that tell you? He called a YouTube channel, by the way, yesterday. We played the recording on JLR Investigates. He called Crime Stories Obsessed. Good channel. Emma, know her personally. She does great work on true crime. Chris felt he had to call in, listening to everyone's words. You know, speaking of Chris, I also wanted to show you something else here. We're going to jump topics now. But somebody pointed this out. A true crime podcaster, Laura Conlon, pointed this out about Chris, right? And similarities to maybe Papa Rogers and the Moscow, Idaho case. Remember the name Papa Roger? Remember the guy that would just interject himself into all the Facebook groups and people were like, hey, Papa Rogers is Brian Kohlberger. Well, is Chris Proudfoot kind of, you know, pulling a Papa Roger type behavior where he's going in all these Facebook groups and calling all these podcasts, sometimes going in groups in aliases, other times his own name, and speaking. I don't want this thought to get me into trouble. Papa Roger, a.k.a. Brian Kohlberger, joined and participated in Facebook groups that were meant to help solve the Idaho 4 murders. He wanted to see what people were saying, how close people thought LE were to solving, getting into arguments with others in groups, and telling people what would matter in this investigation and what wouldn't. It's a trait of narcissism. I'm aware that it's not the same thing, but it came to my mind that a certain parent of a missing child seems to be exhibiting similar actions on Facebook groups and live streams, namely the arguing and the fighting in Facebook groups, a need to control and steer. Now, that's a very excellent assessment by Laura Conlon. And she's basically saying Chris Proudfoot. She's basically
Right. So Lauren Conlon is a reporter, and she was very vocal and involved and did a lot of panels. She was on Nancy Grace's panel when the United Cajun Navy was on. We're still going to get more into some of that. But also she's pointing out that Chris is very narcissistic, right? And she's tagging Peter Hyatt in this comment, or putting the at Peter Hyatt to let him know that she's witnessing this bizarre behavior from Chris, right? Calling into panels, trying to control the narrative. And he's more worried about that than looking for Sebastian, in my opinion. So it's very difficult for me to believe that Chris and Katie have zero involvement or knowledge as to where Sebastian is because of this behavior right here. And Chris is not the only one that has done any of this, right? It's Katie too. And Katie's not the only one that has Preds on her side of the family. Also, Chris does.
Basically saying that Christopher Andrew Proudfoot is kind of doing the same thing here with his behaviors, trying to control the narrative, trying to argue, trying to see what everyone is saying, more worried about what people are saying in the Facebook groups than the actual search for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers.
Okay, guys. So, I added a picture of Lori in here because I know a lot of people are asking about Lori. But I wanted to add this one in there just for us to kind of see a close-up view. Oh, it helps if I pause. All right, there we go. We're just gonna have to see JLR again, but all right. So right here is Katie and Laura Lee McClure. So it's Laura, middle name Lea, and then McClure. And they have a very strong resemblance. Very strong resemblance. Now, I didn't have enough time to look into if Larry and Francis had a child together. So I'm not sure. I just wanted to show you guys this with a comparison. Um, but it says feeling good now, LOL, right? And many times with people who like to use drugs and alcohol in the way that people do in this case, it is to feel good, right? They're trying to numb their trauma, and all the while they're creating trauma and victimizing others, right? So this is the one that victimized a 15-year-old girl. Disgusting. Feeling good now? Feeling good about ruining somebody's life. All right. And then for those of you who have not seen this picture, this is Lori. This is Katie's friend Lori. And she was supposedly, allegedly at Katie's house when Sebastian was reported missing. She was there at the house. Very strong resemblance, right? Very strong resemblance. And it's amazing, when people gain or lose weight, how much kind of comes off your face first. So in the one she was bigger, right? But then, she only got probation also. So who knows if she's involved in anything. Um because it's not like she's in jail for what she did. And again, this is another picture of Frances that I think does resemble the green hoodie. But I wanted to show you guys her picture when she's standing up. Oh, sorry. So, there's Katie with her dead eyes. There's Katie with her evil girls shirt, and she, is proud of it. Do your job, find Sebastian. Quit with the corruption, Craddock. And then this is the Gathering of Voices, guys. If you guys would like to attend, February 23rd through February 27th, I think that Sebastian deserves to have people stand up for him. Okay. Did I forget to add the comparison ones? Oh my goodness, I did. Let me see. I thought I added those in at the end. Maybe I didn't. All right, let me go ahead and try to add those in because I thought I did in the beginning. Sorry, I had to rush through getting this out because again, I had some other things come up that I had to take care of. So just bear with me here. Let me put myself as a little person. All right. So, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hitting the like button, you guys. I appreciate it. All right. So let me go ahead and add this. I'm going to have to go into the studio. So you're going to see a double Lady Freedom for a second. All right, guys, they're just loading in here. Okay, so let me just go ahead and add this. I had to delete the other ones first. So here's the picture of Frances standing straight up, which in the far away one, she definitely looks a little bit manly in her stride. But as we see her walking through the restaurant, she definitely takes on a more feminine look, right? And also, I can see in this picture, she's a little bigger, but she also has, um, so some meat on her bones here also, and especially once she gets closer to the camera, you can see that with that far away downward angle, she is going to look a little bit different, or anybody would. Now, this is another comparison with Texana Fernandez. This lady is batshit crazy. Or just that picture of her, I'm like, oh Lord. A deranged elf is my take. So again, we have the different pictures of the green hoodie, and we can see from different angles if she might match up, as well as what her approximate height seems to be. And it's so hard to tell how tall someone is unless we were to be able to get how high, or excuse me, how tall the booths are at the Texas Roadhouse, right? And then maybe we can add, it looks like maybe 2 inches, but her head is just above the booths. You can see that. So, not much taller than those booths there. And if I was thinking about it, I would have tried to figure that out while I was there. Not that I would be measuring anything, not busting out a tape measure, but I could also, gauge it from, how tall I am in comparison, type of a thing. And again, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Hey, Kiki. Good night. Good night, Kiki. Let's see. What do you guys think? I got to go up a little bit. She's a little underweight. Let's get those thumbs up. Thank you guys for oh, thank you, Brandy, for subbing up. Thank you guys so much for giving the thumbs up and watching. He appears to be or excuse me, he appears to have been very lean. In my opinion, they policed his food, but it could just be a teenager thing. Star, he's always, if you're talking about Sebastian, I mean, when he was a baby, he was pretty chunky, but the formula does that. But then, as he was growing and everything like that, he seemed to always be kind of thin, So it's so hard to tell. It really is. But they absolutely had something with food and control, these are pictures from the green hoodie surveillance, right, of the green hoodie. And then this one on this side is Texana Fernandez. And then we have the other one, which is a comparison of Katie Proudfoot. So, and she's a watch wearer like her mom. No, I'm just kidding. They're both wearing watches. Where's the iWatch? You still thinking it's KP's Mambo? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a woman now. That's why I didn't do the comparison with the man photo. I mean, I put it in earlier in the video, so if you guys want to look at that too. But I mean, I just really feel like from everything we've kind of seen on the tapes that we're looking at a woman, There's that really that weird belly that made people think it was the guy, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so too. I think that far away shot is part of it, you know? So I know a dark, I mean, like an abyss, KJ Mac, absolutely staring into an abyss. Texana is always wearing the bananas. She drives me bananas. Bandana. So I don't know what's up with it, but she wears it a lot, Kylie. She does. Um, so that's interesting. And then Star says, I think the family should stay away from belts. That outfit was really weird, wasn't it? Like, I don't know. And the thing is like it's hard to tell unless we have like a better view because obviously that picture is older of Katie's mom, you know. And the belt on the outside of a checkered shirt, I don't get that. But, it's whatever she wants to wear. Um, but, we don't know if she's gained or lost. It seems like she was in a healthier weight there than in the more recent pictures of her mugshots and stuff. So, there's that. Right? And then we got Texana, Texana banana bandana. Oh my goodness. Yes, see, her mom is 5'7", so that's what I know about how tall she is. So we would be able to find out how tall the booths are at the Texas Roadhouse and maybe figure out, how tall um the person, or if 5'7" would be too tall because I mean we can definitely see a comparison. Of course the person's walking. It's not like they're standing still and letting us measure, but um hello Mandy, good to see you. Thank you. So very interesting, just very interesting stuff here. And Texana Fernandez is the lady that teamed up with Chris Proudfoot's mom and Chris and tried to sue Seth Rogers, but she lost. So that's who she is. And I know that she will do most anything for the Proud Fee. I just don't know how long she has known them for. She was the one that came to the vigil and was videotaping at the rescue ride, and she was asked to not videotape until after they ate. And then she was being really rude, and she's like, "Where's the food? Where's my this? And people were being really kind to her and asking her what kind of, what size t-shirt she wanted and all of that, and she was just there to really cause trouble, in my opinion. Oh yeah, that's a good idea, Lisa. We could also do that. Just compare KP's height to the green hoodie at the Texas Roadhouse, in my opinion. Yeah, I can see that too. Now Texana looks shorter. Obviously, I know that she is not 5 foot, 7. Um, in my opinion, she looks, shorter than that, maybe 5 foot 2 or 3. I don't know, but she definitely doesn't look very tall. So yeah, Kylie says, great thinking, Lisa. And also, Lisa, thank you so much for that super chat. Same. I'll be listening at work now. That'll go over well. KJ Mac, thank you so much for being here. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly who the green hoodie is still. I mean, very similar to Texana, I have to admit. And Jen has seen her in person, and Jen said she walks like the green hoodie does in this video. So, and we can see with her short hair and the way that it falls, it definitely appears that that haircut would be very similar, especially from the side view. If there's 6 photos in the middle, if you look at the one in the bottom left-hand corner, she definitely looks like, there's like a very short cut, not even a bob. I mean, not a fade or anything, but a short cut, haircut like Texana has. But she does have times where she grows it out as well. So I know. We could Google the Texas Roadhouse booth heights. I mean, I would think since they're a franchise, Robini, that we would be able to get that information. So if you guys want to Google how many inches they are, I mean, I don't know how to convert that over, but I should have thought of that earlier because I just thought of it now while we're talking about it, and I'm like, well, you can see how high she is above the booth. Um, she's not much taller. So yeah, and that's the thing why I don't think that this person is a man is because obviously of the, chest area. Um oh yeah. Oh, that's cool, KJ Mac. Yeah, I think people deserve to have a good place to kind of heal in, especially when it's, you know, a facility like that. Ah, well, Sebastian is 5'5". Yeah, Sebastian's 5'5", so I don't know. And they're not really next to each other. I don't know how accurate that would be, Star. I'm not sure. That's the best way I can kind of figure it, though. Um, I was wrong about Green Hoodie being Chris Carr's son. Sorry to him. It's Texas. Kylie, that's funny. No, I had looked into that too, and I mean, even though it was a strong resemblance. I mean, there was a resemblance, a bit, but he was just too young, in my opinion. Also, I heard he's got an alibi too, where he was absolutely like somewhere completely different. But I heard that on Voices of Truth, and those gals do their research. So yeah. Um, Lisa says she'd put $2 on being Francis Suzette. I mean, she looks it's so hard to tell. Like I'm very torn. I don't know which one. Like there's certain reasons why I think it could be either or. I mean, cuz when I look over here, I'm like, wow. She definitely, especially because Frances has like a strawberry blonde hair. And we were talking about that last night, but she absolutely has a strawberry blonde hair. Um, Especially when she's younger, you can really tell. You could really, really tell. And we'll get into a little bit more too. I have another video I want to put together, kind of going over this. But yeah, I mean, I could see it being, you know, either one of them. We would have to kind of match up the height. Texana also has periods of, I mean, as women, our weight does fluctuate. I'm the same way. So, I mean, that could also come into play as well. And again, when the camera's further away, um, and on an upward angle, someone isn't going to look as big as they do like when they're head on, you know. So, there's that. I mean, Lord, you could have 8 uh hot banners, or you could have a soft tail. I mean, it's hang up or hang down. True, true. Yeah, so we have this one, Kylie, is well, I'll just show this one. We have Texana versus Katie's mom for the green hoodie. So that's what we're kind of looking at right now. Um, oh, okay, so they're 36 to 48 inches tall. So 4 feet. So that person is a little bit tall. Oh, okay, guys. If 48 inches is 4 feet, then the person who is the green hoodie is a little bit taller than the Booth, which would make her about 4'3", 4'5". That is short. So that makes me think that's a shorty like Texana. Thank you, Chuchi. Wow. And thanks, Robini, for converting that quickly. Sometimes we just have to laugh, right, Brandy? Especially this horrible content tonight. It is real shit content tonight. And I'm sorry. I hate, you know, I hate having to discuss these tough topics. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not an easy thing to research. Some of this horrible stuff, and just knowing that there's a connection to Katie's side of the family with all this is very unsettling, you know. Well, and we don't know how tall of shoes or maybe even boots that the green hoodie was wearing. It's very difficult. I'd have to go back and look at the shoes. Although I know that Hindsight and Coop came up with what shoes she was wearing, and they were lady shoes. Um, and women do shrink as they get older. That's true, Lisa. Little Miss Sharon says I'm going with KP's mom allegedly, in my opinion. I mean, it's very, very similar. And the thing is too, is the green hoodie seems to have frizzy hair. And again, I'm not trying to knock anybody with curls because I'm one of them. But I'm thinking that it could definitely be her mom because of that. Right. And then I will say that Texana's hair is straight. It looks like anyway. I don't know if she styled it that day to make it like that or not. In other pictures, it doesn't appear to be more than wavy, in my opinion. You know? Kylie says, I'm 5'4". Uh-oh, Kylie. All right, we're gonna need a picture. No, I'm just kidding. Aloha, good to see you, JH. Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, exactly. 5'4". If you're 5'9", see, I'm 5'6", so I'm like, I was trying to think of like how tall the booths were to me, you know? Right? You're not sure what you do if you're shorter, you just fun size. They're little, right? I'm 5'4" now, says Lisa. Down from 5'5". Aw. I still can't bring myself to think KP would intentionally hurt her child, and I still struggle to go there. Foot on the other hand, I know, I know, I know. I'm like that too, KJ. And the only reason that I've even went there as of late is because of Katie's statements and the way that she was acting on Queen Bee's panel. Now, again, that could be all an act, right? The cool girl Katie, the evil girls club. Ooh, I want to be part of that, you know. Um, as petty and stupid as that is, that's what Katie likes, you know. Lisa says $2. That's right. We love our curly girls. Exactly. Us curly girls. Exactly. Yeah, but we know that comes along with, having to tame our hair. That Texana may be green hoodie. She has too many similarities. Yeah, I mean, and I want to see if maybe we can get another part where she's by a booth or a frame of reference. Because if it's, what we're thinking, Magic Star says, I'm 5'3" tall to hit to hit my head on cabinet doors short enough to get not be able to reach the top shelf in a cabinet. Yeah. Well, I can't reach stuff in the back of our cabinets either. I need to get a stool out because everything's, in the RV is taller. So yeah, and the mannerisms, see, and Brandy, that's the thing that, if you've seen somebody in person and then you see them on a tape, that's why I'm like, man, Jen knows what she's talking about with that. There you go. Exactly, Robini. Without shoes, I'm 5'1.5", and with tennis shoes, I'm 5'3". Right. And we don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and look at her shoes, you know? Cinderella, that's a good point. KP's mom can't leave West Virginia. Do you think she would risk going to jail for KP? You know, I think if she could get a kid out of the mix, I think she would. Because of course that would, you know, help her with other things, right? Because that's kind of like what their network is people who like to hurt kids. So that's what worries me so much. And I'm not saying that I definitively think any of this. This is kind of just allegedly in my opinion. But I just think it's important because nobody's really talked about it much after JLR, right? Because then shortly after, Chris Proudfoot blows up on Chloe PI and then everybody backed off. And again, it wasn't because he wanted to support Katie and tell her, you know, it's okay, you know, type of a thing. Don't worry about these people or what they're saying. It was like, oh yeah, whatever. I got to go to work. And, you know, to me, there's something wrong. Oh, cool. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. 100 likes. All right. And I need to make a new dragon party for us guys or pull the other one in. I had to take it out because I had to add some stuff in. Um, when I step on my cat, I'm 6 foot tall. Right? Yeah. I mean, I have to use, you know, methods to get into the cabinets myself sometimes. So, um, well, Brandy, I used to have a little party that I would put on, you know, if we hit 100 likes, and I had to take it out because I had to add in. But I'll have to play it sometime. It was really cute and funny. Um, so I call it the claw. So, I mean, it's just interesting to look into all of these possibilities because I do think something happened at the Texas Roadhouse with the green hoodie. I do. And there's no reason for the green hoodie to just be lurking around Katie's vehicle, and waiting. And then also, you know, there was a big parking space that that person could have been, you know, that they could have went around and not had to go straight on with Katie, but they waited by her vehicle. They did make contact with her. And again, when the green hoodie was coming through, it was interesting how Katie didn't allow for her to keep coming through. She absolutely meant to make contact with her, in my opinion. So, yeah, the Steel Magnolias party is exactly it. Hey, Justice for New, good to see you. So, guys, I want to switch gears just a little bit to something that we were talking about earlier, and I want to show you this. And it's basically something that I had played for you guys the other day, but I want to just pull in this one part and discuss it because I think it's very important that we do. And so I believe it was on this one. So let me just get to that part. Here it is. All right. And let me add this to the stage. And guys, you can watch this full video over, and it's called uh, Sebastian Rogers missing 3 days. Something was and is terribly wrong. Let's watch. All right. So we're just going to play this through here because I'm not sure where it starts, except for right here. Okay, here we go.
Let's take a listen to what the Proudfoot's neighbor said she's seen prior to Sebastian's disappearance.
You guys saw on your camera right after school on Friday, okay, on my video, about somewhere around 3 o'clock at the middle on Friday. Okay. Then they evidently had been out on Saturday because she comes home, she pulls up, he jumps out of the car and he gets the mail, and while she's pulling into the garage, he sees it and he running up to the front door, but then he doesn't go in the front door and he skips back down the sidewalk and into the garage, but looks really happy. I did not visually see him on Friday with the camera, but Sunday with my camera, but that was when I asked my husband asked the police, did you see who took that trash down? Was that Sebastian? And they said yes.
Okay, guys, so the neighbor is saying that Sebastian, or excuse me, the neighbor is saying that the police, when asked, told her husband that it was Sebastian taking the trash can to the end of the driveway. If it's camera footage that these people own and they cannot tell the difference, I would probably ask law enforcement the same thing. But the fact that they asked law enforcement, even though they've seen the footage, they can manipulate it, they can see it for themselves. They couldn't make it out. And neither could Seth Rogers. When Seth Rogers asked for proof of life of Sebastian, they showed him Sebastian coming out of the Texas Roadhouse, allegedly, from what Seth had said. Now, I think it's important to focus on this part again, where the neighbor talks about Sebastian coming in and out. And so I'm going to back it up again. And what she actually saw on her camera versus what she didn't see.
Let's take a listen to what the Proudfoot's neighbor said she's seen prior to Sebastian's disappearance.
You guys saw on your camera.
Right after school on Friday. Okay. On my video, about somewhere around 3 o'clock, get the mail on Friday. Okay. Then they evidently had been out on Saturday because she comes home, she pulls up, he jumps out of the car and he gets the mail, and while she's pulling into the garage, he's skipping and he looks happy and he's running up to the front door, but then he doesn't go in the front door and he skips back down the sidewalk and into the garage, but looks really.
Okay, so this lady is more, in my opinion, trying to convey the message that Sebastian was skipping and he was so happy. She says it 3 times, right? Tawanda, right? Sometimes I like to bring out my Tawanda. And so with her being focused on that, we need to read between the lines and listen to what she says. We need to listen to the meat and potatoes, not the fluff, right? Not the fluff where she's saying, oh, he was so happy and he was skipping around. Okay, fantastic. He's skipping around. That's fluff. What I want to hear are the facts. What did your camera pick up and what did you see with your own 2 eyes? What she said she saw with her own 2 eyes is Friday, Sebastian coming home at 3 o'clock off the bus, right? What she says she saw on Saturday is Katie leaving. Katie said they went to Costco, right? So I'm just having to assume that that's where they went. She said when they return home, Sebastian gets out of the vehicle. It said that Sebastian doesn't like the noise from the garage. So a couple of things. So Sebastian doesn't like the noise from the garage, and any other time, this is usual for Sebastian to get out, right, and then go to the front door. But he can't get in the front door. So he skips on back and goes through the garage. Okay? On Sunday, Katie just pulls right into the garage. So you mean to tell me that Sebastian Rogers got over his sensory issue with the garage door opening from Saturday to Sunday? I don't think so. I do not think so. So, on Saturday, let's go back to Saturday. Again, they leave, they come back. Sebastian's let out, or he gets out of the passenger side, and Katie goes in to the garage, right? Opens the garage while he's off going to the front door, but he doesn't go in the front door. He goes up to the front door as if he's going to go in the front door, but he realizes that he can't get in the front door, and so he skips back down, happily, whatever, to the garage. And he uses the garage door to go in, and then there's the door leading into the house from the garage, like there is in everybody else's garage, right? Now, my issue going back to Sunday, they want us to believe and expect us to believe that Sebastian had gotten over the sensory issue that he has about the garage door opening. And they're also expecting us to believe that Sebastian wouldn't have just gotten out of the vehicle, taken the trash can, and rolled it to the end of the driveway because that's his chore, she says. But why didn't he just go ahead and take that opportunity to take the trash out, and then he could have pulled it to the end of the driveway and then came back in the garage and his chore would have been done? So there's a lot in this small little excerpt from the neighbor, on top of the fact that she was able to verify and see all of the other activities on her camera besides the night that Sebastian went missing and was alleged to have taken the can to the end of the driveway. She can't tell whether it's Sebastian. Her husband has seen the video. He can't tell whether it's Sebastian. And so they asked the police officer, was that really Sebastian? And they said, yeah, it is. Right? But they also told Seth that too. Hello, Anna. Good to see ya. Lisa says, Lady Freedom, check out Sweetie Pilo. She had an extensive conversation with the neighbor about Sunday night through Monday morning. Very good information. I will, Lisa. I heard about Sweetie Pilo that she did, and I haven't had a chance to go listen. But I also heard that Justin talked with the neighbor as well. So I need to go over and check out both because I know Justin's really thorough and he asks good questions, and he seems to, have a good grasp on, whether to believe, whether a witness is credible or not, and that sort of thing. And that just comes with doing it, right? And excuse me, having experience with it. Magic Star says, Little Miss Sharon, I heard that, so I guess Lady Freedom is saying he would go through the garage when he got home, at least himself. So what I'm saying, Star, is that typically he would get out of the vehicle and go and use the front door because he didn't like the noise of the garage door opening. And then with that, Katie would go into the garage and she would shut the garage door behind her and Sebastian would be in the house. He knew the code to get into the front door. But for some reason on Saturday, when Katie and this is the day before, right? This is Saturday, February 24th. That day, Katie let Sebastian out of the vehicle so she can open the garage door. He skipped up the walkway to the front, to the front door, but he didn't go in the front door like he usually does. He had to skip back down because he couldn't get in the front door. And then he subsequently went in through the garage. So, like I said, there's just a couple of things wrong with that situation. When did they change the code on Sebastian? Because obviously his code didn't work and he couldn't get into the front door. Yeah, because and that's the thing, he has sensory issues, right? One example I can give of that is I do not like it when somebody has a fork and they are eating something and they drag it across their teeth. I can hear that and sense it from a mile away and it makes me cringe. I hate that noise, right? It is very annoying and it's cringy, in my opinion. And I've not ever gotten over that. And I certainly am not going to get over that and it's going to be perfect and everything's going to be good tomorrow. Right? We're dealing with Sebastian who has autism, who has sensory issues. And one of the things that he didn't like was the garage door being open. So if Katie just came home from the Texas Roadhouse and straight away pulls into the garage, that tells me that Sebastian must not have been with her. Or someone earlier was talking about perhaps they had given Sebastian something on the way home that had given him maybe a sedated effect. And that's why he was okay to have gone through the door and not gotten out like he usually does. Right. But if that is the case, then who took out the trash, you know? Yeah, he did know the code, little Miss Sharon. Sorry, hold on, my mouse. Um, little Miss Sharon says, didn't KP and CP say that Sebastian knew the code to the front door? Yes, he did. He knew the code to the front door and he was able to use it on Friday. But then when they came in Saturday, the neighbor could see on her camera, and she's saying that Sebastian was let out of the vehicle and he went up to the house to use the code, but he didn't go in the front door. Instead, he decided, well, I can't get in there. So he skipped back, down the pathway he came from and went in through the garage because Katie had already opened the door and pulled her, her Infinity SUV into the garage. No, you don't forget it, and it's something that you continue to, have an issue with and unless you do therapies for it, but that takes time. The neighbor also said the kitchen window was open that night, allegedly. Oh, okay, Robini. So I'll have to go over, and that was on the Sweetie Pilo or the Justin's phone call. And like I said, these neighbors know more, guys. These neighbors know way more. And some of them are covering for Chris and Katie. It just is what it is, right? It's allegedly, in my opinion, they know more. They're covering for Chris and Katie. They don't want people in their neighborhood. They don't care that Sebastian's missing because it's not their child. They don't want any more awareness about Sebastian. We're tired of it. What, we're supposed to put green ribbons up? Yeah, you might want to. You might want to. Or you can decide that you're not going to. That's on you. But, it could be anybody's kid. That Sebastian could be anybody's kid. I have a feeling she gave no shits about the sensory issues. I could see her yelling at him to do his chores anyway. Well, that would have been a good time to do his chore, though, Star, is what I'm saying. If he typically gets out of the car and goes to the front door instead of her, waiting for her to pull into the driveway, if that's typical behavior of Sebastian's, then at that time, why wouldn't he go ahead? Why wouldn't Katie say, hey, go ahead and do your chore, take the can to the end of the driveway while we're out here, right? It would just make sense to me. But instead, Sebastian, goes in, doesn't have any issues with the garage door all of a sudden, and then he comes out, she said about 15 minutes or, after they get home, that's when he took the can out. And I don't think that I just don't see that being something that happened. I don't know what a sensory issue was till I was like 10 or till 10 years ago, but now I definitely know. Yeah, I mean, it's just something that kind of bugs somebody. Yeah, I do like Sweetie Pilo. I do. Yes, because if we don't like something, we don't do it. That's true, Brandy. And that goes for any of us. There's always little things that get to us, right? Some people don't like chomping, or somebody that smacks their food. People are like, oh, that's awful. Or, people who talk with their mouth full, or, those kinds of things are things that are kind of things that bug. But when you have sensory issues, take what you're feeling and amplify it. Right? Where it's like you simply cannot stand it. You know what I mean? You're just not you're gonna avoid it at all costs. And if that's the case, why did Sebastian not avoid the garage door on Sunday? People on the spectrum also are very rigid when it comes to their routines. So KP let him out before going to the garage, allegedly. On Sunday? Can't undo something that makes this feel funky. I know, it's very odd, isn't it? It's very odd. Okay, we were trying to figure out if he knew the code. He did. She told Katie told Smiley that Sebastian knew the code. Yeah. I was trying to think about how he would get inside when he came home from school with nobody home. Yeah, he knew the code. And Chris was saying, on Web Sleuths that Sebastian mainly went in the front door. He said sometimes he would go in the garage door, but that was after it was open, right? But he didn't specify that. And he was probably covering his ass for what happened on Saturday, that Sebastian couldn't get in the front door. Sebastian wasn't able to use the keypad to get in. He had to go back through the garage. According to this neighbor, I mean, again, it's allegedly in her opinion at this point, so I don't know whether she did or not. But this is what she's alleging. But if he knew the code, why leave chocolate milk in a blanket on the porch? It's got me confuzzled because they changed the code, Star. Allegedly, in my opinion, they changed the code on him. And when he tried to use it on Saturday, he couldn't use it. And that's kind of my point. I know it's weird and I know it's kind of confusing. But it also makes sense if we think about that, the fact that they changed the code. That's the only way it really, kind of makes sense, that also explains why he left the blanket and food on the porch, right? Yeah, it does. It explains that, right? And if your child, okay, let's go back to that too, Scran. Thanks for being here. If your child knows the code to the house, why would you ever change it after he went missing? Right? So I do believe that it was changed on Saturday, and that's the reason why he couldn't get in. And again, this is something that Sebastian does all the time by himself, right? Because he was home for a couple hours after school while Katie was still working. Which I always thought that was, kind of mind-boggling, especially because they were saying that Sebastian, his age hadn't caught up to his body. So if you're saying that Sebastian is an 8-year-old, you're letting an 8-year-old just come home willy-nilly by themselves? I don't know what the age for latchkey kids are, but I mean, if the mentality is at that level, then, that needs to be considered. But then we find out that's not true at all. And Sebastian has, very little deficits and he just needs some extra help. My fiance chooses skin around his nails and drives me nuts like nails on a chalkboard. Rob Beanie. I used to have a very nervous habit of doing that and biting my nails. And now I just do the fake nails. Sorry, I'm moving my table. Now I do the fake nails and it keeps me from biting. Because yeah, I know it's an awful habit, and I used to drive my dad nuts with it. He hated when I would bite my nails. He's like, "You look nervous," and I'm like, "I am nervous." So people who shake their leg drive me bonkers. Star, that's funny. Yeah, past memories don't like future moments. Yeah, exactly, Brandy. They also changed it before they left town, in my opinion, because KP was scared to stay there allegedly. Yeah, I mean, I think it just shows that they definitely changed it, before he went missing. I was thinking they did it afterwards, but the fact that they did it before shows premeditation, like a mug. So that's kind of where I'm at. Because I mean, changing it afterwards, that, knowing that they changed it afterwards, because they had to have, right? Because they put the clothes out and the Yoo-hoo or milk drink out there for him when they left. So I always assumed that they changed the code then. But then hearing this, which I had never heard this before, right? hearing this made me think, oh my gosh, so they changed the code before. Or excuse me, they changed the code after. I said it right the first time. Sorry, guys. Um, they changed the code before he went missing because he couldn't get in the front door. It must have been changed, in my opinion, because that would make sense that he couldn't get in the door and he had to, skip back down and go into the garage. So, okay, so it was Sweetie Pilo. Thank you, Robin. I'm gonna go look at that. Or Robbie, thank you. I'm gonna go look at that. They just want to put in their past and it's safe for, yeah, forget it. Yeah, that's not cool. And I just, either way, it's not good. If they change it after the fact, it's not good. If they changed it before, it's not good. See, this is where it comes in the important part, and I wish he was here. I just thought we would have found Sebastian by now. Someone would have found him by now, and it's so sad that he hasn't. Oh, okay, Faye, that's interesting. They opened the windows for the bleach smell to go away, in my opinion. I think Katie was awake all night long. I really do. And maybe that's why people were asking them a bunch of times about the doors and windows, because the neighbor was saying that the window was open at a certain point. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that. I hope it's not on a members only, because I have my trip coming and I'm not going to be buying memberships before that. I need to make sure I have gas and stuff. So, but yeah, because I mean, and again, I just hope that people will, that's an important one for everybody to hear. A neighbor's an eyewitness. Again, we do have to look at credibility, but those are important details. Oh, thank you, Little Miss Sharon, for gifting a Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives membership. If you got a membership from Little Miss Sharon, please say thank you and welcome to the Dragon Tribe. I wanted to buy a membership in Smiley's tonight because she does do good things for the kids and really cares, has a lot of knowledge of Sebastian's case. Yeah, a simple tag on someone's shirt can drive them bananas, definitely. I like that they took the tags out of the shirts. A lot of them have like a stamp instead. No worries, Star, you're okay. It's strange. I even confused myself just now. I'm like, was it before or after? But it just appears that maybe the door was, they changed the code that day, and that's why the door wouldn't open for Sebastian. You know? So, yes, thank you so much, Little Miss Sharon. How I sleep is very important to me. I have many special blankets. I have to know what I'm sleeping with, how it's washed. Oh, I'm very particular about sleeping too. I am, cracking knuckles. Yes, that's another one that's like a big one, Lisa. That really is like nails on a chalkboard. For some people, they just cannot stand it. I don't like it when people crack their neck because I always feel like they're gonna hurt themselves, and I don't like that cracking sound. The knuckles don't bother me as much as like when somebody cracks their neck, and I know it's not like gonna hurt them or anything. They're usually they're like, oh, that feels so good, and I'm like, it hurts. It hurts me just hearing it. You know. Oh, Lisa, all right, yay, Lisa B. I'm so glad you got the membership. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. You've always been a dragon. Um, Snoring makes me have violent intrusive thoughts. Star. That's me when somebody like scrapes their fork against their teeth. I'm like, oh, stop, please make it stop. Neurov, hey Neurov, Sebastian would know a simple 4 to 8 digit code easily by memory if numbers is a strong skill with autism, and his skill in chess and other games shows strength, in my opinion. I think so too. And usually those codes are, like you said, very short little ones. And if he's so used to using it, it's like muscle memory as well. boop, 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 right? When we do something over and over again, we develop what's called muscle memory. And it's like we could do it with our eyes closed, right? So that's another thing. And I do believe that Sebastian's favorite subject was math. He's good at math, right? Arithmetic. We're talking about arithmetic now. So yeah, that would mean he's got muscle memory and a memory, that of those numbers. And unless somebody changed them, there should be no reason. Now, some could argue and say, well, the batteries weren't working that day, coincidentally in or on the keypad, right? Because I know sometimes you have to change that stuff or whatever. Um, could that be something? Sure. I just don't know. Chuchi. I get mad when people pretend to stick their fingers in my salad to get me going. Eat that ish. That's too funny. Did you touch my salad? She Brandy says that she feels you, Chuchi. She want to hurt anybody that touches her salad. Hey Beth, good to see you. Beth Lynch says maybe KP changed the code while they were out because he was home that weekend. In my opinion, yeah. I mean, it seemed to have worked Friday, right after he got off the school bus, and then Saturday didn't seem to be working. And again on Sunday she just says that she went in the garage, and a lot of people were saying that Katie just went straight into the garage. I never heard that Sebastian got out on Sunday, you know? So it's all just something to think about, um and again, we don't get over those little things that we don't, like too. So I don't know. Our little yeah, I can see them as wrenches, but now they're badges. They're badges now, little Miss Sharon, instead of a wrench. But like on my end, I can see you guys have wrenches. But like if we're in other chats, there's a badge next to our name, a blue badge. So I'm like, am I a cop or a mod? I don't know if they're changing it over. Um, I'll still call it a wrench, I think. Oh, yeah. I'm not a big fan of croutons, but I do like those little onion things, so Sam doesn't like celery and potato salad. That's too funny. I love putting celery in the potato salad. I don't know why, but, um, I do. I do like it. Even if I do like a mustard potato salad or something like that. So, yeah, I love stuffing. Sebastian has sensory issues and he wouldn't ever use a code key door. It makes big noise while the door is opening and closing. Oh, the keypad does. Like when it unlocks, Faye. I didn't think about that. Good night, Lisa B. Thanks for being here. Ooh, sliced apples is good on salad too. I love Waldorf salad. Yes, it does show premeditation. It also makes me think of Peter Hyatt said that Sebastian was purposely let out of the house. Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big believer in what Peter Hyatt has said on this case. I think he really, hit the nail on the head. No, no, Sam, and they were asking about the trash video or the trash too. I'll play that part.
Really happy. I did not visually see him on Friday with the camera, but Sunday with my camera. But that was when I asked my husband asked the police, "Did you see who took that trash down? Was that Sebastian?" And they said yes. Because in this neighborhood, if you want your trash picked up on Monday morning, you got to take it down there Sunday. Sometimes Sunday.
Sorry, I muted. Okay, so no, I do not think that Seth knew the code to their house. No, I don't think so. Oh, Kylie says Seth did say he knew the code. Well, I knew that Sebastian knew the code or that Seth knew it. Because I know they said Sebastian knew the code, but not you guys are talking about farts. Um but I'm not sure if Seth knew it or if they were worried that Sebastian would tell Seth the code. I don't think so. Yeah, really, nothing was working apparently, right? Little Miss Sharon at their house or in the street the night Sebastian went missing. That's a good point. That is a very good point, you know? And with the level of control issues with a spouse that works for Brinks, it astonishes me that they don't have video surveillance all over the place. I agree with that. And how come they have so much surveillance after the fact, with poor little Faith? And again, that could have been something that was put in place because of the household that they were allowing for Faith to go to. Um, but I mean, I don't know who had access to that feed. So, and again, Faith isn't a little baby. She deserves to have some privacy and dignity, in my opinion. Katie should have taken her damn son to school. Lazy. I can't believe she didn't. It was right there. But then again, sometimes they want exposure to other kids and to learn. The bus is a good place to kind of learn. Boundaries and getting along with others and that sort of thing. And Peter Hyatt is an expert that was working with Seth in the beginning, having him on the panel and talking with him. Peter Hyatt, now he has passed away, but Brandy, I would highly recommend just type in Peter. I'll put it in the chat. Peter Hyatt, like Hyatt Regency. I like Caesar salad with just Caesar dressing, you know? Oh yeah, I like to make my own dressings too. I like to make oil and vinegar ones, Brandy. I know. I'm thinking Stepfoot would have had a fit up his butt, right? I'm thinking so. Yeah. OMG, we got stuck in the line of cars behind the school bus the other day and the kids were fighting. Oh no. I know. I know. And it's probably, um just easier to have them ride. Like I could see why she didn't, and then I could see, but also I guess it's because she was coming home late too. I mean, or later than Sebastian would get off of school, so she kind of had him riding the bus because he was a latchkey kid, because she was at work at that time. So like they changed it, afraid he would get in while they were put out of town, but they both took off to to CP's work. I know, exactly. Well, and that's when she was allegedly putting things out for Sebastian. So, I mean, if they thought he might come home, why wouldn't they leave the code? It just, yeah, there's just so much to it. Um, Anna says, does anyone remember if the dent on the garage door was dented from the inside or outside? I don't remember, Anna, which one it was. Here's Robini says, Anna, from the inside. That's a scary thing, in my opinion. That's right. He had a hoodie on allegedly in that video. Whoever took the trash out allegedly was wearing a hoodie, but he wasn't wearing one at the Texas Roadhouse. So just very, very interesting. Well, I'm going to go try to find the one with Sweetie Pilo and see if I can't listen to it, or maybe Justin's. I do want to come live tomorrow, but it might be a little bit earlier in the day. Because that way I won't have a lot of background noise and, it'll be quieter. Because I know some of you guys wear the earbuds and it's hard for you guys to oh, he doesn't have a link. Aw. Okay, little Miss Sharon, thank you for looking. But that way it'll be quieter too. But I do want to hurry up off of here in order for me to make up our video too. And I will go ahead and set up the live for the trivia. So it'll be fun. Definitely bring your thinking caps. And like I said, we'll do a special prize. And then for whoever doesn't get to do the members, we'll do a second prize. for, just kind of like a pick a number like we did last time. So that way you guys can feel like, it's something for helping out. I can't do it just for like I can't do it a raffle style because of Florida laws, but we can definitely do a drawing and everybody can participate. So it'll just be something that's a little bit more fair, you know. But I know, Sam, I know, Sam, I would love to play it with you guys. But I'm so bad with reactions. You know what I mean? Like I always like to process because if I do reactions, I'm always like, what? And then like you guys are gonna be like, whoa, lady, calm down, you know. But yeah, I'm interested to know, more. Yeah, absolutely, Brandy. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for everybody that's new, everybody that's been here for a long time. I really appreciate you guys. And again, like if you guys cannot help out or whatever, what really helps is watching, and just kind of get me into the algorithm. And yeah, I do turn into Tawanda, Brandy. My initial reaction is Tawanda, right? And again, I just want to encourage, Brittany J to get in touch with her inner Tawanda, because I can see it in her. She's a tough girl. She's tough. She can bounce back, and I want to see her do that. I really do. I always want to see people do well. I do not like to see people fail. It makes me sad, like when I see somebody do well, I'm like, yeah, especially if it's another woman. It really like it just makes me happy to know that somebody else who, worked really, really hard is succeeding, and I think that is really important for us to lift each other up. So I just want that to be my ending message. And I'm just hoping that we can, just I don't know, start finding more commonalities, and learn to disagree respectfully and how in a healthy way, and not in a toxic way. So either way, I love you all very, very much. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will be back in a few hours to chat with you.